Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
A little bit of breaking news this morning, some health concern having to do with former President George W. Bush. During his annual physical examination, this just came from President Bush's office, during his annual physical exam at the Cooper Clinic in Dallas yesterday, a blockage was discovered in an artery in his heart. At the recommendation of his doctors, President Bush has agreed to have a stent placed to open the blockage. The procedure was performed successfully earlier this morning without any complication at the Texas Health Presbyterian Hospital. President Bush is in high spirits, eager to return home tomorrow and resume his normal schedule on Thursday. He is grateful to the skilled medical professionals who have cared for him. He thanks his family, friends, and fellow citizens for their prayers and well wishes, and he encourages us all to get our regular checkups.
All right, folks, welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show, Tuesday edition. I actually woke up to the news this morning. My son actually said, "Did you hear about George Bush?" And right away, my worst fears, I said, "Oh, my God." He said, W. I said, W, what? He said he had a heart thing. I said, "Are you sure we're talking about?" Anyway, as you just heard, former President George W. Bush had a physical yesterday. I could only assume they did a stress test. And that could tell you when an artery is, I think, 80% or more blocked, and they wound up doing putting a stent in there. We'll have more on what that means exactly, medically speaking. Joining us now is our friend, former UN Ambassador John Bolton, who, of course, served in that position, appointed by George W. Bush. Hello, Mr. Ambassador. How are you, sir?
Hi, how are you, Steve? Glad to be with you.
Well, my pleasure. Kind of scary, kind of shocking, but thank God he seems to be okay.
Yeah, I certainly hope the operation went well and that everything's taken care of, but it just goes to show that having these regular physicals can be very, very important.
Absolutely, and here's a guy who, we know him for his obsessiveness, so in a good way, over exercise and mountain biking, and still in all, it shows that anybody could develop this kind of thing.
Yeah, it really caught me up short, I must say, when I heard it, but it seems that everything has turned out okay, and that's great news.
All right, let's move on, and let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the world. And I guess the news today, oh boy, to quote the Beatles, is that we've launched some drone strikes that have killed 4 al-Qaeda terrorists in Yemen, and we've now told all Americans to get out of Yemen. We're closing up shop and running away from Yemen. What do you make of that? And what do you make? Well, you and I haven't had a chance to talk since these closures of the embassies, the revelation, and almost to all the minutiae you can imagine of how we found out, what we found out, and how do you think the administration has handled all this?
Well, I think there are several questions. First, in response to the information that members of Congress on a bipartisan basis have said they found very serious, but on the basis of this information, I think it was the right thing to do to close the embassies and consulates and issue the travel warning for private American citizens. We're not playing checkers here. This is very serious business, and I think given our present weakened circumstances, that really is the best call to make. I think it raises the larger question about the impact of the president's 5 years almost now of saying there is no war on terror. The war on terror is over. It's not a terrorist threat. It's a law enforcement matter. And the weakness that we've displayed around the world, particularly after the September the 11, 2012 killing of our ambassador in Benghazi, without any retaliation nearly 11 months later. So the administration's worldview has been, in effect, completely rejected, and we're seeing now the consequences of operating under the illusions that he has operated under. And finally, the idea that administration officials leaked, that the triggering piece of information here was a call that we intercepted from al-Qaeda worldwide leader Ayman al-Zawahiri, just boggles my mind. I mean, it was stunning enough that Zawahiri broke communication security in a way that we were able to get hold of the call. But for us then to say it publicly so that everybody in al-Qaeda and every hostile power around the world can now remind themselves they need to be careful about their communications, I mean, it just that alone, as we worry about the effect of Edward Snowden and Bradley Manning, it just reminds us that it's our own government that's also causing ourselves damage by these leaks.
I mean, do you think the motivation for that was to say, see, we need this program, see, we're doing good, what we're doing has to stay, it's working? I mean, what else? But then I think back to Joe Biden, who announced to the world it was SEAL Team 6 who got bin Laden, and then 2 months later, SEAL Team 6 lost a bunch of members in a horrific, they say, accident, which is under investigation, hopefully by Congress. I mean, what's with these guys?
Yeah, it could be just an utter lack of sense and discretion. But, you know, it's also a complete contradiction of the administration's storyline that al-Qaeda is on the road to defeat, that they've defined al-Qaeda to be this narrow sliver of activity, a small group of people in Waziristan along the Afghan-Pakistan border that they've been decimating with drone strikes, thus trying to prove their point that the war on terror is over. In fact, when you say that this kind of communication is going on, and in fact, when you look at the extent of the territory, the number of countries where we closed embassies and consulates, in fact, it does disprove the entire operating hypothesis of the Obama administration that al-Qaeda is on the road to defeat. So, in a way, leaking the information may have helped them in some sense, but it utterly rebuts their entire worldview about the nature of the terrorist threat.
We're talking to former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. All right, let's talk about Benghazi and what we have heard in reports over the past several days, and that is that there were several dozen CIA agents on the ground at the time that reportedly, according to some, they were working on some kind of covert arms smuggling operation, arms from Libya over to Syria. That's what prompted this. That's what this was all about, this attack, and that these survivors are being shipped around the country, having their names changed, and undergoing polygraph tests on a regular basis out of the norm to make sure they're not talking to anybody. If this is true, Mr. Ambassador, this is a cover-up of proportions that I can't even imagine, when it's happened before.
Well, I think Congressman Frank Wolf has been on this point about the non-disclosure agreements that some of these people are being forced to sign and the like. And I think it's been clear for some time that the administration's unwillingness to allow these people to come forward has something to do with their effort to prevent Congress from learning what happened in Benghazi that night. I mean, it's nothing new that there were a lot of CIA personnel present. That's what the whole annex was, not the consulate, but the annex building. And I think it was probably pretty clear that they were engaged in a weapons buyback program. We've done this in many places around the world. What they were trying to get back were man-portable anti-aircraft missiles and things like that had come loose from Gaddafi's arsenals. Now, whether in fact, as had also been previously reported, these weapons were in turn being shipped to the opposition in Syria. I'd be amazed if that were true, given the Obama administration's unwillingness to get involved in Syria. But I'd sure like to know what the facts are, and I don't think we know what the facts are at this point. I can understand why the CIA would be reluctant to have its people testify to what was involved in the weapons buyback program. I understand that. You can handle that by doing it in a classified setting. What is not explicable, though, is not allowing these people to tell Congress what happened on the night of September the 11th.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, let me ask you, sir, about this trial of Major Hassan. He wrote a letter to Fox News last week saying that basically this was a terrorist attack. He did it for Allah, did it for Muslims. We're finding out more and more, which was obvious from the start. But of course, this has been classified by the government as a case of workplace violence. And I had Staff Sergeant Manning on yesterday, who was shot 6 times. And of course, the financial hardships that he's gone through because of that classification, and the others and the families of the members of the victims is horrific. So today I see the headline is, as the trial begins, evidence will show I'm the shooter. That's what Hassan is saying. The spectacle of him being able to cross-examine the very people he shot, to me, this has become a circus. So weigh in on where we are with this trial and what it's become, and also the refusal of the administration to reclassify this, even after the president, when he gave his speech on terror several weeks ago, said that this shooter, this American shooter, as he put it, was influenced by jihad.
Yeah. Well, I think the administration's handling of the whole Fort Hood shooting has been disgraceful. And in the answers that Hassan provided to Catherine Herridge of Fox News, he said, among other things, he renounced his U.S. citizenship. I'm told it's a little bit more complicated than just writing a letter like that, but, let's find a way to make him happy if that's what he wants. I'm happy to have him renounce his citizenship. He resigned his commission in the military. Thank God for that, too. But this trial, I mean, ironically, tragically, actually, coming as it does at the time of this worldwide threat from al-Qaeda, is another demonstration of the Obama administration's unwillingness to come to terms with the reality of international terrorism. Nobody who has even looked at this a little bit believes that it's workplace violence. Of course it's terrorism. And the administration's defenders who say, oh, well, but, that's not really al-Qaeda, it's lone wolf terrorism. Look, if I were al-Qaeda central leadership, I would think that lone wolf terrorism would be just about the most efficient way to proceed, one person at a time. You communicate with them over Skype and the Internet, and it's a much better way than trying to get large teams of people moved around the world. The terrorists have adopted to the Internet better than our administration's counterterrorism policymakers. We know, in fact, that Hassan has said he got a lot of his inspiration from al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, right, in Yemen, of all places. So this is a different way to implement terrorist attacks. There's no doubt about that. But anybody who doesn't think this is part of the al-Qaeda terrorist threat hasn't been paying attention.
Absolutely. And one final question, sir. Your plans to possibly run for president, where are we with that? I know that, for instance, Congressman Peter King was in Iowa yesterday. What's your itinerary look like?
Well, what I'm determined to do is to find a way in the 2014 elections to make sure that national security issues get the prominence in our political debate that they deserve, to try and find a way to support candidates who believe in a strong national defense and foreign policy, and to get this agenda more widely discussed. So, 2016 is a long way away. I think this 2014 congressional election is going to be huge, but I'll be going to places like New Hampshire because that's how you raise the issue. That's how you make it prominent. That's how you make it more important in the list of national priorities, which I think is critical.
Gotcha. Mr. Ambassador, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Thanks again for having me.
My pleasure. That's former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton. Fascinating stuff, and just insane that this administration would announce to the world that we intercepted the head of al-Qaeda's telephone call. I mean, wouldn't you want to keep that a secret so he'll keep making telephone calls? What can I tell you? It's the Abomination, and we're coming back on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com.
What is Lignet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is LigNet? LigNet is confidential. LigNet is sensitive. LigNet is security. What is LigNet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Hi, this is Dick Morris. ObamaCare is taking full effect this year with over 15,000 pages of regulations. You need to know how this law affects you. That's why you should get your copy of ObamaCare's Survival Guide. It's easy to read and the best guide to the new law. Even if you're currently insured or a senior on Medicare or a business owner, a medical professional, or really any citizen, you need the ObamaCare Survival Guide. In it, you'll find about hidden taxes, fees, and fines, including a 40% tax on some health plans. I warned you about Obamacare. It's rationing, Medicare cuts, and will trigger doctor shortages. Now the Obamacare Survival Guide gives you the simple steps to protect your family. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. It's already a #1 Amazon bestseller. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 today by going to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
We're in the midst of an obesity epidemic, and I'm not surprised. The statistics on obesity mirror an increasing trend of eating out or ordering in. In fact, some people dine out every night, but eating in restaurants is one of the biggest enemies of your heart. When you're in a restaurant, you don't really know what you're getting, and the calorie counts of many restaurant dishes are astronomical. In fact, some single dishes contain more calories than we should eat in an entire day. Eating in fast food restaurants is even worse. A diet of hamburgers, French fries, and shakes constitutes a fast lane to the emergency room. If you really want to help your heart, get in the habit of cooking simple meals at home. Here are 3 easy tips that will make your food taste better than even the best restaurant. Choose the best fruit in season. Your local farmer's market is a great place to start. It will probably still cost less than that pie you were thinking of buying. Get in the habit of using fresh herbs. You can use them in egg white omelets or dust them on the fish you grill or bake. And for a light dessert, choose a square or 2 of dark chocolate that you and your spouse can enjoy. There are lots of ways to make your heart healthy, but there are also lots of ways to damage it. That's why I wrote Fix It, Dr. Crandall's 90-day program. In it, I'll tell you how to kickstart your metabolism every day, how to pick the best diet for you, how to stop hunger from sabotaging your diet, the 7 superfoods for your heart. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. And coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk to a spokesperson for the RNC, the Republican National Committee. They are threatening to keep NBC and CNN out of presidential debates for the 2016 presidential election, or the run-up to it, if they go through with this movie, this pro-Hillary movie that they plan to produce and run right before the presidential election. Gee, how convenient. Now, I would be amazed if the Republicans stick to their guns on this. In my view, the Republicans for every presidential election I can remember, especially since the advent of cable television, should have insisted that they get conservative moderators in there along with the extreme left moderators that were there. So, the whole thing's bizarre to me. We'll see. We'll talk about that at the bottom of the hour. But I just want to catch up on something. Al Sharpton, who has done many, in my view, horrific, racist, bigoted, homophobic things and said these things that are racist, bigoted, and homophobic and anti-Semitic, in my opinion. Perhaps one of the worst things he ever did, besides leading the protests outside Freddy's, which was a dress shop, a clothing store owned by a white Jewish businessman in Harlem, and he led protests where they called this guy a white interloper. Subsequently, that place was burnt down. 7 people were killed. And, of course, Al Sharpton was never found culpable of anything. Nonetheless, next to that, Tawana Brawley. Sound familiar? 25 years after the fact, Al Sharpton has never really apologized at all for the Tawana Brawley hoax. It was deemed to be a hoax by a grand jury in New York State. Governor Cuomo at the time, not Andrew, but Mario, ordered the grand jury investigation, and they found that it was a hoax. Tawana Brawley was found in a plastic bag with feces on her, and she went running to Sharpton, or Sharpton went running to her, and also Alton Maddox was involved. C. Vernon Mason was involved, and they claimed that this girl was put in that bag after being sexually abused and violated by police officers and officials in Westchester County, including one Stephen Pagonis. Well, Sharpton and Maddox and Mason have already paid or are paying the ordered amount in the defamation suit that they lost to Stephen Pagonis for defamation of character. Tawana Brawley, until just last week, had never paid a dime. She's now 41 years old, and she last week 10 checks totaling $3,764 were delivered to ex-prosecutor Stephen Pagonis, the first payments that Brawley has made since a court determined in '98 that she defamed him with her vicious hoax. She now has to pay him over $600 a month, probably for the rest of her life, to make those payments total what she's supposed to pay to him. He says it doesn't make up for anything. It's symbolic. It's justice symbolically. And he knows that every month she will think of him and what she did to him when she writes those checks. But it hasn't stopped Al Sharpton from rocketing to the top of the liberal love list and the Democratic Party's love list, has it? And hasn't impeded his career one bit. Coming back on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention, if you've been classified as a high-risk driver due to DUI, DWI, or tickets for aggressive driving and are required to get expensive and hard-to-find SR22 auto insurance, then you must listen to this message because we can help. We're the largest insurance company in the U.S., specializing in SR22 auto insurance and focused on serving the needs of customers classified by the state as high-risk drivers. We help people get back on their feet by providing easy-to-get, low-cost SR22 insurance that anyone can afford. If you need SR22 auto insurance, or if you have it now and are paying too much, you need to call us today for your free quote at 800-836-4606. Our specialists are standing by waiting for your call. We understand people make mistakes, and we're here to help by making SR22 insurance easy to get and affordable for everyone. The call and quote are free. Call us now at 800-836-4606. That's 800-836-4606. Again, 800-836-4606.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, and you may be forced to watch helplessly as you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, all while your home's value is eradicated. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer believes we will soon stare down a secret crisis that will rival the Great Depression. It was Wiedemer's 2005 book, America's Bubble Economy, that warned of coming meltdowns in our housing and stock markets. Washington did not heed his call, and folks on Main Street lost $50 trillion from the recession. His New York Times best-selling book, Aftershock, predicted our federal debt and dollar would be the next bubbles to burst. And now Robert Wiedemer has released a startling video with shocking evidence the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Join us at Aftershock2013.com. Aftershock2013.com.
Are payday loans ruining your life? If you have 2 or more payday loan cash advances, listen closely. You may be eligible for a program that payday loan companies don't want you to know about.
This program will get payday loan companies out of your bank account and put an end to the payday loan nightmare. Call for free information and find out if Payday Loan Support Center is right for you. Payday loan companies usually trap you into paying rates as high as 700%. We understand payday lenders' tactics. Don't let them take advantage of you anymore. All you need is 2 or more payday loans to qualify. We can help even if you're behind in collections or have bad credit.
Internet payday loans qualify for this program as well. So call 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. The call is free and the consultation is free. Don't miss out. Call for your free information on payday loan relief. 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. Again, 800-250-5084.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. SocialSecurityFree.com. At SocialSecurityFree.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurityFree.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says SocialSecurityFree.com is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurityFree.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurityFree.com.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, it was just about 24 hours ago when the head, by the way, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Glad you're aboard. The head of the RNC, the chairman, Reince Priebus, announced that, he was threatening to cut off CNN and NBC from presidential debates leading up to the 2016 presidential election. If the networks don't shelve their plans to air a couple of features on Hillary Clinton, who is widely expected to be the Democratic nominee. Joining us right now to talk about this is Sean Spicer. He is a communications director for the RNC. Hey, Sean, how are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on, Steve.
Well, it's my pleasure. I'm well. I got to tell you. I am thrilled to death about this move. I could only hope that that you guys stick to your guns. Tell me what motivated the RNC to put this out there, to make this statement, and do you think it'll accomplish what you set out? And I assume that is to make sure that the movies never run.
Right. Well, Steve, let me take you back a little while. One of the things that we recognized at the end, as we were kind of looking back after the election in 2012, is we said, the RNC, when Chairman Priebus got elected, the train had left the station on the debates. It was one of the things we regretted. And we said the party needs to have greater control over this. And he has been working with internally to try to figure out ways that the party can get a better handle on controlling the debate process so that we don't have media organizations that are frankly intent on making a mockery of our candidates and our issues control the debates. And so while we've been kind of having internal discussions about this, we saw this pop the other day where CNN and NBC said we're going to do a infomercial for Hillary Clinton during the next coming thing, and we kind of said, okay, well, while we still have things that we need to talk about with respect to the debates, but step one is to say absolutely not. You can't even be considered if you're going to air this movie. This is ridiculous. Like the idea that you're basically going out there and giving someone a handout and saying we're going to help tell your story so that sets you apart from the field is absolutely unacceptable.
Right, and you also point out, although I'm sure this isn't your primary concern, it was pointed out yesterday by the RNC that this is also not the fairest of things for other Democratic candidates who might be running in a primary against Hillary Clinton.
Right, exactly. Here's the deal. This is the simplest way to equate this, because I've heard all the excuses. CNN's telling us, wait, you should wait and see it. Judge it then. How do you know it's going to be? How do you know that it's going to be that fair? Well, here's the simple answer. if I tell you, Steve, I'm going to buy you lunch. Develop who she is as a person, done for free nationally by two different networks, that helps her tremendously against all of the other candidates, both on her side of the aisle and on our side. And I think that's just blatantly unfair.
Absolutely. And, this wait and see, do they mean to tell you that this is going to include Hillary's infamous "what difference does it make" testimony at Benghazi, that it's going to include the parents who say that Hillary lied to her about what happened at Benghazi, that it's going to include everything back to the Rose Law Firm and everything else, and missing billing records and everything that
Whitewater.
Right. I mean that's insane. But let me ask you this, and this goes beyond this, and this is why I'm so thrilled.
Steve, can I just ask you real quick?
Yeah.
Let me. I say this sort of tongue in cheek, but I think you and I have both seen this movie, right? I mean, like everyone keeps saying, you don't know what this movie's going to look like, and I go, I kind of do.
Yeah,
I think I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, they're going to get some.
And let me tell you, it always seems to work out that the Democrat looks good, the Republican looks bad, and that's how it ends.
Absolutely, and we're talking to Sean Spicer, Communications Director for the RNC, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. So before I go on to the next point, so what the response from CNN? What do you say?
NBC said, well, that's actually a separate division of NBC. That's the entertainment division. And so, the debates would happen on the news division, and those two divisions are completely separate.
Yeah, right. Of course they are. Like NBC News and MSNBC are completely separate, where you got Chuck Todd, White House correspondent with Brian Williams, and he does his own talk show, and Andrea Mitchell, chief foreign correspondent, and she does her own talk show, and I could go on and on and on. They're completely independent.
Clearly, you can see how different that is.
Absolutely. All right, well then, so let me ask you this. Why do you think the Republicans, and I guess I don't know if it's the RNC's role, maybe it is, you tell me, in years gone by, I mean, we had Gwen Ifill, if I'm recalling correctly, who had a pending book deal on Barack Obama coming out before the 2008 election. And if Obama won, naturally, it would enhance her book. Now, I don't know how that would ever happen to that, but that was certainly something, conflict of interest. And beyond that, almost without exception, all of the questioners of the major debates, especially when it's down to one guy, one Republican and one Democrat, are left-wingers, traditional left-wingers. Why hasn't, until now, the Republican side, and again, maybe it's your function as your organization, or maybe it's not, insisted that, more conservative questioners get a role in these debates?
So you bring up a really good point, Steve. There's two separate issues at play. One is the debate process that happens in the primary. And that's one where I think the party does and will have a much greater role this time, because unequivocally, the party does have a much greater role in the primary.
But the primary is between Republicans.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so I'm just saying that there's a distinction. And so I'll tell you, the first thing is on that, because let's kind of cross that bridge first, which is what happens right now is there's no incentive for anyone to say no. In other words, let's say that I'm running in third or fourth place and CNN or MSNBC even calls. Well, I know that if I say yes, I get a bunch. I'm maybe in third or fourth or fifth place in the primary through the current polling. Hey, if I go do this debate, I get free airtime, and right now, maybe my campaign can't pay for it. So, hey, at some point, I got to do everything I can. So what happens is then when two or three of them say no, then the other guys at the top, well, they can't say no because then it looks like they can't handle it. So there's this problem. Well, I think the party, what you're going to see is us really try to get hold of that, where we create a incentive not to do unsanctioned debates, and the debates that we do have would be much more thoughtful in the sense of exactly the point that you're getting at in the primary process, meaning we're not going to hand them off to moderators or people that are seeking to do our party damage.
Right. So they make they make the whole party, all the candidates look bad. They could set the tone. They could pose the questions in a way where the candidates would have to be on the defensive, and that would apply to all the candidates in the primary. Okay, you've explained that well.
Right.
Now let's move to the presidential debates themselves, the three debates. What control do you have there, or can you have there? How do you shut out if you go ahead with this, and if it comes to that NBC and CNN?
So what that does is what happened several years ago, literally decades ago, is we created a system called the Presidential Debate Commission, where it's got 3 Republicans, three Democrats, and they create these forums and negotiate, and the campaigns themselves negotiate with the Presidential Debate Commission, and therefore. And so they'll go back and forth. At that point, it truly does become between the candidate and the debate commission. There's nothing that requires that. But what has happened is that there's sort of been this, what do you want to call it, truce amongst everyone that says, well, if we allow the commission to be our agreed-upon negotiator, then we go from there. I think that, again, if you ask Chairman Priebus right now, he thinks that system has always tended to benefit the Democratic side, exactly as you pointed out.
I think so. Yeah.
But what that does, but when you get to that point in the race, it truly is.
It's up to the candidates and their representatives.
Exactly,
and unfortunately, I'll say this: you don't have to, and you may disagree with me, so you could shoot back if you want, or you could stay silent. But the people who have run the campaigns of McCain and Romney had no idea that they were running not only against Barack Obama, but running against the liberal media. And unless the next candidate, Sean, understands that, it doesn't matter who you guys put up, because to just. As Sarah Palin is now saying, she wasn't allowed to say this, she wasn't allowed to say that. You conceded the war on women. You wouldn't bring up the radical leftist abortion stance of the Democrats and Obama compared to Romney's, who was more mainstream. You conceded the war on women. I mean, unless the people change who are running these presidential campaigns, I just don't see anything changing in the results.
Right. Well, I think, look, I don't think you're going to get a ton of argument from this chairman at the RNC. He believes that we need to be much more forceful and stake out a position and, to hell with history, if you will, in the sense that, yeah, I get it. That's how we've done 3 campaigns before, or 4, or whatever the number is. That doesn't make it right. And frankly, it's time that every once in a while that we stood up and said, hey, we'd like to, here are the formats that I think should be explored. And as you pointed out, like, why are we allowing people who have been, literally staffers to Democratic presidents
right.
and members of Congress to get to moderate our. I mean, no one. It blows my mind, and I know you feel the same way. Where it's like, whenever the Democrats or the liberals go into news media and start taking control. Then it's no big deal. When the notion that we would ever have anyone from, say, Fox News
right?
Debate,
right.
It's just
That's outrageous.
Question.
Absolutely.
And when in 2008, when the Democrats refused to debate on Fox News, well, that makes sense, of course, right?
Right.
That's the mainstream media says, well, why would they? That would be silly. When the RNC stands up and says we are not going to allow networks that go out of their way to benefit Hillary Clinton to participate in our debate process, it's outrageous. How dare you guys do this?
Right.
What about the First Amendment? I mean, I've heard more excuses in the last 24 hours, and I keep recalling to these folks, I don't remember you all being that outraged in 2008 when Fox News got iced out. Or how about this? When Citizens United aired a pay-per-view movie,
right,
or wanted to
for Hillary, and they wouldn't allow them to do it. Yep,
they went nuts. Oh, how dare you!
All right,
guys
here's
do
the
this?
thing, and I'm not in a position to tell you your business, but please. Please,
sure
the people who run the next campaign understand that the American public, they are on your side. They are not. But you're running against no matter. Look, when Romney went overseas, what was the first thing? It was the gaffe trip. Miss Governor Romney, how do you feel about your latest gaffe? I mean, I remember that question. You got to be kidding. No matter what your candidate will do, it'll be a gaffe. He'll be a buffoon, or she'll be a buffoon, or there'll be a phony conservative, phony black, phony woman like Palin was. You can't win, so forget them. Go to the public, go to the people, hold press conferences about the media. When Newt Gingrich stood on that stage and blasted Maria Bartiromo and whoever else he blasted for stupid questions, I got to tell you, it sent. I got a warm chill up my leg. I mean, that's what you got to do if it's a dumb question. And if you guys permit Candy Crowley to participate again after what she pulled, that lie, which she never said, you know what, I was wrong, even till to this day. Please, no Candy Crowley. I'm telling you, learn your lesson, guys. All right, I'm going to shut up because you're going to hate me when you get off. You're going to say, that guy thinks he's preaching. He's preaching.
You've been a solid voice. That we need more voices like you out, not just in the radio, but on all over. Because I think that's what people need to know. I honestly think sometimes that those of us out there fighting for the conservative cause need to know that there are more people out there willing to give them cover when they stand up.
Absolutely. Any of you guys are welcome here anytime. Sean, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Sean Spicer, ladies and gentlemen, Communications Director for the RNC. You want to weigh in on this? Anybody want to weigh in on this? Whether you're listening at our new affiliate, WFTL, Big Talk 850 down in Florida, or in Atlanta, News Talk 1160, the talk of the town, or you're listening at XM 244, or you're watching at Newsmax, wherever you're listening or watching. Do you think that the Republicans will stick to their guns here? Will have fair moderators for debates? And if NBC and CNN aired this Hillary movie, you think they'll stick to their guns and say, you're out of our process? Should they? Let's talk about it. 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show. If you need to lose weight and would like to get paid for it, that's right, I said get paid to lose weight. Just listen to the following announcement. The makers of GCE Green Coffee Bean Weight Loss are looking for real testimonials from real people and will pay you per pound to meet or exceed your weight loss goal. Until now, the secrets of green coffee's fat-burning power has been limited, but thanks to Dr. Oz, the secret is out. And now, this authentic green coffee bean fat burner is available in easy-to-take tablets. There are no expensive meals to buy or strenuous workouts. Simply take one tablet before each meal and record your progress. Only the first 200 callers are guaranteed to be accepted into the program. So if you're serious about losing extra weight and want to earn extra cash for fitting into your skinny jeans again, call 800-383-9230 now. Call 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230. Space is limited, so hurry and secure your spot today. 800-383-9230. Some conditions apply. 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230.
Hey guys, do you know your testosterone level? You should. Each year, declining testosterone robs more of your energy, drive, motivation, and even your ability to perform in bed. Take control of your testosterone today. Write this number down because Progene, the leader in dual-action testosterone supplements, is now giving you a free supply if you call today at 800-592-4834. If you'd like to feel closer to 20 than 40 and get back that energy, drive, and confidence, call now to try Progene risk-free. Don't believe us? We'll even prove it works. Ask about our at-home testosterone test kits and see for yourself what Progene can do for you. Be one of the next 100 callers. We'll triple your order and send you a full 1-month supply of Progene for free. A $70 value for only the cost of shipping and handling. Call 800-592-4834 for details. Know your level and kick your drive back into gear with Progene. Call 800-592-4834. That's 800-592-4834. Again, 800-592-4834.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction to alcohol or drugs, then you must listen to this message because there is hope. No matter what addiction you or your loved one is coping with, you are just one phone call away from real help. Recovery Hotline makes the healing process simple and affordable by matching people to fully certified and experienced inpatient facilities that are right for their personal situations. Call 800-668-1286 now. Don't wait another day. Money does not have to be an issue. Most insurance is accepted. Just call 800-668-1286 today. Recovery Hotline's mission is to help you or someone you love begin the healing process and get back a healthy and sober life. And we can even help with family interventions and travel arrangements. One phone call is all it takes to get back the life you or your loved one deserves. The call is free. The help is real. Call 800-668-1286. That's 800-668-1286. 800-668-1286. Again, 800-668-1286.
Meet Jim. Like many of us, Jim enjoys a busy life. Between work, family, and friends, his days zip along. And Jim has the energy to tackle almost anything. But lately, Jim's get up and go has literally taken on a new meaning. Jim's always put focus on a full night's sleep, but it seems like these days, he's up and down to go to the bathroom so many times he can barely wake up in the morning. prostate concerns have him sad, tired, and worried. Activities that were once enjoyable now seem like a chore for Jim. His golf game is at the mercy of his bathroom schedule. Family outings are planned around it too. Jim even has difficulty going to the bathroom. He's tried so many prostate remedies he can't keep them straight, and nothing ever seems to help. Then Jim found out about Prostate Revive, the all-natural dietary supplement specifically formulated for men, targeted towards improving and sustaining normal prostate function. Prostate Revive includes 15 super ingredients never combined before, including saw palmetto extract, beta-cytosterol, pomegranate fruit extract, selenium, and other high-quality nutrients. These targeted and all-natural ingredients promote healthy urinary flow and optimal prostate health. And the best part is, Prostate Revive was developed by a renowned medical doctor. Dr. David Brownstein personally formulated Prostate Revive with one goal in mind: to promote a healthy prostate gland. Thanks to Prostate Revive, Jim's got his life back. He gets a full night's sleep every night, and his friends and his wife can't believe he's the same guy. He has his old energy back, and no one has to wait for him. He doesn't even think about his prostate concerns anymore. Visit MedicSelect.com to take back your nights and improve your quality of life with Prostate Revive.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. In the next hour, we're going to talk about this bus incident. Have you heard about that? Have you seen that down in Pinellas County in Florida? 3 thugs beating up this one kid on a school bus. The bus driver tells him to stop. He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything else, but he told them to stop. And this kid had his arm broken and all kinds of injuries. And I'll tell you all about it when we come back. And I want to ask a question, a racial question about this incident, because I think there could be a racial element to it, which is not being discussed in the media at all. Also, Ambassador Daniel Benjamin, former State Department coordinator for counterterrorism, will join us about the closing of the embassies. And John McCain and Lindsey Graham are in Egypt, and John McCain just called what took place in Egypt a coup, contradicting the administration's classification of it. Good old John McCain. We'll talk about that. Steve Emerson will be here. And later on, we're going to talk to George Vesey of the New York Times about A-Rod. So a lot on our plate. But let's get to a phone call at 855-777-9660. We have Wayne in Deerfield Beach, Florida. Hello, Wayne. You're on the Steve Malzberg Show.
Well, Steve, man, I'm so delighted to be talking with you.
Why would I delight anybody?
Because you speak the truth and you're loud and clear.
Well, I appreciate that. So you're listening on our brand new affiliate WFTL, Big Talk 850, right?
That is correct.
Great. I'm in for Bartsky, as you know, while he recovers, so that's great.
Yes. See, I was listening to you speaking. I just get back into my vehicle and start driving home. And then you were talking about the media, and they want to stop NBC or those media that give back.
Yeah, CNN and NBC are planning to deal with this movie on Hillary. Yeah.
Well, you know something. I hope for once the Republican Party or the hierarchy in the Republican Party stand up and say no, it won't happen, and stick to it. You know, that would please untold millions of people. And believe you me, I'm a minority. And there's a lot of minority who are Republicans, who are conservative, but don't have a voice. Because I think, to be honest with you, I think they should have a little bit more of an outreach for those people. I've seen where Sean Hannity have, doing the best he can on a Sunday night on his program to let people understand that conservative people are coming all different colors. But I say that to say this. If you ever talk to people in my neighborhood who are minorities, and you tell them the value of the Republican Party and what it stands for, man, you get a convert right away.
Right.
So that's why I'm just saying they need to do a little bit.
They absolutely do, and let me tell you, I remember when Michael Steele was elected the chairman of the RNC. I
Right.
was doing a radio show on another station, WOR, and WFTL picked that show up. But the point is, when he was elected, I said to him, when you come to New York, I said, I'll go with you. I'd love to go with you to minority neighborhoods to at least show you where they are and go around and see how you do it and show the outreach. He promised, and I'm not saying it's his fault, but it never really happened. On the other hand, you know, I don't know. Do Democrats come around to the black neighborhood and say, here's why you? Maybe they do. I mean, I don't know.
No, that's a good point. I like that point, and I can give you an answer to that.
Yeah.
The thing is, most minority, if I even go into the neighborhood before I start opening my mouth and give them my opinion,
Right.
they assume that I'm a Democrat.
Well, of course, because look, 95% of blacks who voted for Obama.
Yeah, but if somebody stopped to talk to them, first of all, when they voted for Obama the first time around, it was a black thing, and I understand it. They voted him out of that thing. We have come such a long way to give the black man a chance.
All right, so Wayne, let me. I know what you're going to tell me, and this is right, and I think this is true of the Hispanic community too. When it comes to strong family values, when it comes to traditional marriage, when it comes to right to life, when it comes to education and hard work, these are conservative values, and they reflect Republican conservative points of view. And that's what most of the black community and Hispanic community are. Correct?
Absolutely. But what they need a black voice up there, and not the Steele. I didn't even see Steele as the kind of voice that could bring that kind of message. I feel like Alan West or
I agree, and Wayne, I'm almost out of time. I hope you'll call me often, but I got to tell.
Oh man, I just love you.
All right, Wayne, spread the word all over South Florida, okay?
I certainly will.
All right, my friend.
I'll be your ambassador, man. Take care.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Wayne. What a pleasure. Wayne in Deerfield Beach, Florida. And you're all welcome, folks, whether you're in Atlanta or anywhere in the country watching or listening, XM, News Talk 1160, or Big Talk 850, XM 244. Give me a call on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45 non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50 non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920. That's 800-460-0920. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-0920. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. The trial of Major Nadal Hassan began today, 4 years after the horrific shootings at the Fort Hood Army base that killed 13 people and wounded more than 30. Staff Sergeant Alonzo Lunsford was left blind in his left eye and now suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder after the shooting. He and other victims may now face cross-examination by the man charged in the rampage, Major Malik Nadal Hassan. He has chosen to represent himself during the trial. Lunsford was recently asked what it would take for him to feel like justice was served in this case.
In a perfect world, an eye for an eye. Let it be judged by Islamic law, what death would be by stoning.
The prosecution plans to call some 300 witnesses, some survivors among them. If Major Hassan is convicted, he could face the death penalty. And the State Department has ordered the evacuation of all non-essential personnel from the U.S. Embassy in Yemen. The move comes after officials say they intercepted secret communications between al-Qaeda's chief Ayman al-Zawahiri and his deputy in Yemen. This is what was initially led to the shutdown of almost 24 U.S. embassies and consulates in the Muslim world. Lawmakers say the potential terror attack was a massive plot in the final stages. Some of the posts that were closed, including Iraq and Afghanistan, did reopen yesterday. And 3 people were killed and others were injured when a man opened fire at a municipal meeting in Pennsylvania before he was shot by local officials. It happened last night around 7:30 in Monroe County, about 85 miles north of Philadelphia. Witnesses say the man first shot through a wall and then entered the meeting room and then kept firing. State police say the suspect, 59-year-old Rockney Newell, had an ongoing dispute with township officials, but it remains unclear if any of the victims were specifically targeted when the shooter opened fire.
One of them is in an official capacity with the township, so you would assume that he did know them, but I don't know that as to be a fact.
A local official, as we told you, was able to take the gunman down with his own gun. The suspect was then treated at a local hospital and released to police. And Alex Rodriguez hit a single for the Yankees last night in his return to the majors after learning his suspension handed down by Major League Baseball. MLB suspended Rodriguez through the end of the 2014 season in connection with the biogenesis scandal, though he will be allowed to keep playing as he launches an appeal. Rodriguez was one of 13 players disciplined yesterday. And when your Newsmax Now update continues, big changes for one of the nation's most iconic newspapers, why some veterans of journalism say the sale of the Washington Post to Amazon.com founder Jeff Bezos might save the paper, plus a Newsmax exclusive with the frontrunner in what some are calling the most intriguing Senate race of 2014. Congressman Jack Kingston of Georgia joins us next.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com.
ObamaCare. More than $1 trillion in new costs. Hidden taxes, fees, big Medicare cuts, doctor shortages. How can we survive?
To know ObamaCare is to survive ObamaCare. The ObamaCare Survival Guide tells you everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The ObamaCare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Special internet-only offer right now at ObamaCare911.com.
Obamacare. President Obama's massive health care law is taking effect this year. With over 15,000 pages of regulations, few even know what it means. Now, the ObamaCare Survival Guide by Nick Tate gives you the shocking facts about this law. It's a step-by-step guide on how you can protect yourself. Already the New York Times bestseller, every American needs to get the ObamaCare Survival Guide and find out about the new taxes, hidden fees, fines, Medicare changes, business rules, and why doctor shortages are likely. Donald Trump says the ObamaCare Survival Guide is a must-read for anyone worried about getting good health care for themselves or their employees. So get the ObamaCare Survival Guide. It's at bookstores or get our special offer at ObamaCare911.com and you'll save $15. Go now to ObamaCare911.com. ObamaCare911.com.
And welcome back. A major shakeup in the newspaper industry. Amazon.com founder Jeff Bezos has bought the Washington Post for $250 million. The deal includes other papers owned by the Post as well. And during a Newsmax exclusive, we talked with Congressman Jack Kingston about a Senate race some are calling the most intriguing in the country. Republicans are hoping to take over control of the Senate, and this is one race they absolutely must win. Some pollsters, though, say changing demographics may provide a boost to Democrats, even in Georgia. But Kingston says his track record of winning in a Democratic district should help him win this race if he wins a highly competitive GOP primary.
Well, I actually come from a Democratic part of the state. I have proven that you can be a solid conservative and still attract swing voters.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for August 6th. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. Hour number 2 here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Coming up in just a little while, we'll speak to Ambassador Daniel Benjamin, State Department's former coordinator for counterterrorism. And there are breaking developments in the Benghazi situation. We understand that the U.S. has filed charges against a militia leader in Libya. They don't have him. CNN interviewed him the other day. We don't have him. But we'll talk to him about that. And also, the State Department saying today that they've determined that they don't need to make a determination. They've determined that they don't need to determine whether or not Egypt, what took place in Egypt was a coup or not. John McCain today in Egypt calling it a coup, the ousting of Morsi. But if it's a coup, then the U.S. has to cut off all aid to Egypt. So semantics play a big part. So we'll talk about that with the ambassador, and then Steve Emerson will weigh in on who this character that the U.S. is seeking to get a hold of and charge with at least part of the Benghazi mess, who he is. But I want to talk about something that has taken place, and it is so hard to watch. It's disgusting to watch. It's heart-wrenching to watch. 3 students accused of beating a younger student aboard a Pinellas County school bus in Gulfport, Florida. You may have seen the video by now. It's 3 kids beating up another kid who you could barely see, and the bus driver shouting, "Stop! Stop! You're hurting him! Stop!" And then he makes a call to the police saying, "I think they're going to kill this boy." They wound up harming him greatly. They broke his arm, and they were ganging up on him. On a 13-year-old, 3 of them. They kicked him. They punched him, all on the school bus. The driver stopped the bus, and the suspects used the emergency exit of the back of the bus to escape. Now, these thugs, and I don't care how old they are, 15, 14, 13, these thugs were caught. I've seen their pictures, okay? An investigation revealed that one of the suspects had tried to sell drugs to the 13-year-old boy in the bathroom of the school earlier that day. The 13-year-old boy ratted this kid out. And then he got this beating for daring to rat out this kid. Why were these kids, and the one who actually allegedly, according to the kid, to the 13-year-old who got beat up, why was this kid who tried to sell drugs to this 13-year-old allowed on the same bus with these kids? That's question number 1. Officials said that the victim tried to crawl under a seat on the bus as the suspects punched and kicked him for roughly a minute. The victim suffered a fractured arm. The police also say that this kid was Joshua Redden, also took the victim's money. There was Joshua Redden, Julian McKnight, and Lloyd Camraj, all 15 years old. And it's very rare, and I applaud it, that they release the names of these kids because they're all minors. but they released them. All three of these thugs are charged with aggravated battery. Redden is also charged with unarmed robbery. All three, of course, have been released from police custody. No need keeping them in police custody. Let them go back to the bathroom and try to sell some other 13-year-old drugs and then beat the crap out of him. The bus driver, he's come under a lot of scrutiny. Why didn't he intervene? Why didn't he do something? I think he's 60 years old. You know, it's easy to say. It's like these idiots who criticize cops. Why did it take 5 cops to hold this guy down? Look at them. They're hitting him. Because when people are pumped up on adrenaline or drugs or just adrenaline, and you can't bring them down with one person or 2 people. And if you're trying to cuff somebody because you don't know if they have a gun or a knife or what they have on them, it's even harder. So my point is that this bus driver couldn't take on 3 15-year-old kids, 60 years old. What do you want to have a heart attack? I mean, he called the police. He did what he could do. I don't hold him responsible or culpable. I don't want him blamed for anything. I want the thugs blamed. And here's another thing, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to weigh in on this real quick, we could do that at 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660. The 3 attackers were black, as far as I could see. And from what I'm told, the kid was white. Now, working on that premise, because I haven't seen the kid's picture up close, the victim, but working on that premise, if that's true, and I believe it to be true, I was told here by someone very competent in our newsroom that the victim was white. You think that should be mentioned? I've seen report after report after report of this, and I haven't heard it mentioned. If it were the other way around, if 3 white kids beat up a black kid on a school bus, oh my God. I mean, it would be just as horrific. My oh my God reference is, well, that would be a different story, you see. That would be a different story. And it shouldn't be a different story. It should be the same story. A 13-year-old should not be attacked by 3 15-year-olds or by anyone else on a school bus. That should be the story. But I know what the story would be if the races were reversed. I know what the story would be. So this is an outrage. Gulfport Police Chief Robert Vincent says he can understand the driver not getting involved. Okay. This intermediate school is a dropout prevention school. It's actually in St. Petersburg, Florida. It's a dropout prevention school. Really? A dropout prevention school. How do these thugs get in there selling drugs to kids in the bathroom and then beating the crap out of them on a school bus? And what's going to happen to these fine young men who beat up this kid? And folks, I don't care if this victim was black, white, or green, or yellow, or purple. No kid should be on a school bus and be attacked or harmed or threatened or anything else. I'd like to know what the, well, we'll see what the eventuality will be here. But I wouldn't hold my breath if you're expecting some kind of jail time or harsh punishment for these attackers. And it's a shame. It's a shame. And we keep seeing it I keep seeing it on CNN like every 5 minutes. And you know what their story is? The driver. Did the driver do enough? The driver. Should he have intervened? The driver. We spoke to the driver. The driver. CNN had Piers Morgan had the driver on. How about getting the parents of this kid, this victim? Or the parents of the thugs? That's the story, not the driver. The driver's not the story. Anyway. All right, folks, when we come back, breaking news out of Egypt and out of the U.S. State Department or Justice Department, who is seeking the arrest now of one of the supposed masterminds of the Benghazi attack. We'll come back right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect. With higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the ObamaCare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, the ObamaCare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price.
Scroll down now to claim your copy of ObamaCare Survival Guide for the special internet offer of only $4.95.
Hello, my name is Fred Fleitz, and I'm the managing editor of LigNet. You've probably seen our name preceding some of the stories you read on Newsmax or heard LigNet referenced on Fox News, C-SPAN, or CNN. Perhaps you've asked yourself, what is LigNet? LigNet is an acronym for the Langley Intelligence Group Network, a private Washington, D.C. based service that provides global intelligence, in-depth analysis, and detailed forecasting. LigNet staff and advisors include former CIA officers, national security experts, presidential advisors, and top-level government officials from around the world. I myself held several national security posts for the U.S. government during my 25-year career with the Central Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the U.S. Department of State, and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Our lead advisor is General Michael Hayden, the former director of the CIA. He is joined by former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton and former chairman of the National Intelligence Council and Special Assistant to President Ronald Reagan Fritz Ehrmann, former U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela Otto Reich, and former clandestine service officer Frederick Russman. Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee Peter Hoekstra also joined our advisory board staff. Every day, our goal is to use our expertise, our resources, and our worldwide staff to take the pulse of the ever-changing political and economic landscape and the threats we face on a daily basis. Whether you are following global events for your portfolio or business, or just interested in the world around you, LigNet provides what you need to know to keep up with global events. There are many. Every day, LigNet members receive the Morning Brief, a daily email that provides summaries and links to our daily analysis to keep you up to date on LigNet's assessments. LigNet members receive unrestricted access to LigNet's secure database of global analysis. All of our special reports, previous analyses, and exclusive video interviews with intelligence insiders are available to members 24 hours a day. But you also get top-notch analysis that resembles the President's Daily Brief, the classified intelligence assessment delivered to the President of the United States every morning. LigNet also sends breaking news emails to our membership list. If there is a development of global proportions or a terror alert, our subscribers are always the first to know. I hope you now have a better understanding of what LigNet is, but more importantly, recognize how truly invaluable LigNet can be. As the old saying goes, knowledge is power.
Join LigNet for $1. Go to lignet.com.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, we are back on the Steve Malzberg Show. Welcome back. We are joined right now, I'm very honored to say, by Ambassador Daniel Benjamin, State Department's former coordinator for counterterrorism and now director of Dartmouth's John Sloan Dickey Center for International Understanding. Mr. Ambassador, welcome, sir.
Pleasure to be with you.
Well, the pleasure is mine. All right, let me ask you, first of all, with the closures of the embassies and the basically, it seems like our side, the State Department, our government, telling the world everything we know when it comes to why we closed those embassies. Do you think it's been handled properly, or did we A, overreact, and B, have we said too much publicly?
Well, I don't think we've overreacted. I'm reluctant to second-guess my former colleagues. They hate to close down embassies, and if they did it because they had credible information. It may not have been terribly specific, which is why so many embassies have been closed, and I'm sure that's a big frustration. As for telling everyone about it, well, it's very hard to keep a secret in Washington. The government hasn't been telling too much, but there's a lot of leaking going on, and that's always detrimental to carrying out government duties, and it's a big problem.
Yeah, and when I meant the leaking or the telling everyone, we had to tell everyone we were closing the embassies. But what I mean is, it's gotten so specific that we've been told, or the world's been told, or it's leaked out that basically we got the head of Al Qaeda talking on the phone, breaking his procedure, talking on the phone, and we got tipped off through that conversation. I mean, why would the U.S. government want to put that out there?
The U.S. government didn't want to put that out there. I believe McClatchy Papers or someone else got the story and ran with it, even though the U.S. government asked various media not to put that story out.
But there's someone, obviously, within the government that is telling us, the press.
Yeah, there's
this
no
stuff.
question. There's no question that someone who should have been keeping their mouth shut, has been giving stuff away. I have to say that after almost 4 years at the State Department, hardly a day went by when I wasn't surprised at what I saw in the papers. And this is one of the really depressing facts of Washington today, I'm afraid.
And what kind of damage could something like this do? Aside maybe from the obvious, where he would now stop using that phone line, which we had secured, or were able to listen in on. Aside from that, what other kind of damage could this kind of leaking do?
That's damage enough right there. In general, anything that gives the terrorists an insight into how we operate is to be avoided, and so this is regrettable. I have to say it happens with enormous frequency, and it's a real problem for everyone.
And let me ask you about some breaking news dealing with Benghazi. We apparently have now put out an arrest warrant, or are seeking the arrest of Ahmad Katala. He's with Ansar al-Sharia in Libya. CNN interviewed him the other day, and now almost a year later, we have a sealed arrest warrant reported by CNN out for his arrest. Are we ever, in your view, going to get... will justice ever be brought for the 4 dead Americans and those who were seriously wounded in that attack?
I believe so. I think we have a pretty good record of finding people who were behind attacks against Americans. We were tracking down and capturing people who were involved in the TWA hijacking. I think it was 847. 20-plus years after it happened, we stayed with the Pan Am 103 case forever, and we do the same with every terrorist that we have knowledge of as being involved in an attack against the U.S. We were catching people who were involved in the East Africa embassy bombings long after that happened. American officials don't forget these things, and they keep after them. Sometimes cases go cold for a while, but they never give up. There was one of the perpetrators of the East Africa embassy bombings was someone we were looking for years and years and years. He turned up in Somalia just, a year or two ago, and made the mistake of drawing a gun on one of the Somalis who I believe we had trained or one of our partners had trained, and he was shot dead on the spot. And that sort of story happens with some regularity. You remember there was the shooting online at the CIA back in, I think, 1993.
Yeah.
We got that guy years later, and eventually he was executed. So, the United States just doesn't forget these incidents.
And as far as the the reports that are coming out now about the possible transfer of weapons, that's why so many CIA people were involved, and that might have precipitated the attack. The transfer of weapons from Libya to Syria. The administration originally blaming everything on this video. The Hillary saying, "What difference does it make?" All those kinds of things. Will we ever get to the bottom of that? We have reports of people who were there and survived being transferred to other parts of the country, having their names changed, being given lie detector tests by the CIA every so often to make sure they're not talking to anybody about this. Is all that secrecy going to go away and one day we'll know the truth?
What truth is it you're looking for? What happened in Benghazi?
I'm looking at what happened in Benghazi. Why did the Secretary of State and the President blame it on a movie, tell the parents when the coffins were returning that it was because of a movie? All that kind of stuff. Yeah. Why did it happen? Why was the security request denied? Who denied it? I mean, there's lots and lots of questions out there.
Well, I think that the Accountability Review Board, led by former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Mullen, and Thomas Pickering, probably the most distinguished diplomat of the last quarter century, looked deeply into these things and answered a lot of these questions. I also think that there's been a lot of hyperventilation in the press about some of these issues. Congressional inquiries have also, I think, helped answer some of the questions. This has, I think, gotten out of control and become a real distraction from American, the important work of securing our posts and our embassies. An awful lot of investigations have gone on into this. I don't think there's any indication that anything is being kept secret.
Really? So you haven't heard the reports of survivors being transferred all over the country and being told, threatened with their jobs and their families' security being threatened, that if they talk, they're done? You haven't heard any of that?
I've seen
CBS
that in the
News,
press.
CNN?
I've seen headlines to that effect, but that doesn't jive in any way with what I know about how the U.S. government works.
All right, fair enough. I appreciate your time, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye. That's Ambassador
Bye-bye.
Daniel Benjamin, State Department's former coordinator for counterterrorism and now director of Dartmouth's John Sloan Dickey Center for International Understanding. When we come back, Steve Emerson, the head of the investigative project on terrorism, will join us to tell us who Ahmed Katala is and to weigh in on this battle over whether or not what happened in Egypt is a coup and why it matters. John McCain says it was a coup. State Department says, what difference does it make? On the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530. That's 800-460-1530. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-1530. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
Do you owe the IRS? Do you have unfiled tax returns? Have you received a wage garnishment or bank levy? Maybe a lien has been filed against you. OMG Tax can help you with all your IRS tax problems. Don't wait another second. Take action now. Call my team at OMG Tax. Honest and professional, we don't make false promises. If you owe back taxes, or if the IRS is garnishing your paycheck, you need help now. OMG Tax can help you get your life back to normal. If you're serious about handling your tax matter, call OMG Tax now and get the peace of mind you deserve. Don't let the IRS take your next paycheck. Stop waiting and call our team at OMG Tax. OMG Tax has a straightforward, no-nonsense approach and has helped many Americans resolve their IRS nightmare. Call OMG Tax now.
Call 1-800-255-6485. That's 1-800-255-6485. 800-255-6485.
Guys, you've heard about Ageless Male, the natural supplement that helps boost testosterone levels within normal, healthy ranges. But now, the best testosterone product is even better. New and improved Ageless Male can help you feel more like you used to in your active life and in your romantic life. Because our upgraded formula has been clinically shown to increase your drive, desire, and performance. That's right, guys. Ageless Male has been clinically shown to boost performance. Cancel your plans this weekend. You're staying in. If you're ready to recapture the drive from your youth, now is the time to try Ageless Male because it's available risk-free. But you must call now. Just call 1-800-460-9790. Be the guy you used to be. Just call 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790.
According to the FBI Uniform Crime Report, there are over 5,000 robberies every day. Your home could be at risk of being burglarized. Don't put your loved ones and valuables in jeopardy. For just over $1 per day, your home can be protected from break-ins, fire, and more. Get the latest home security technology from Protect Your Home, your ADT authorized dealer. Over 6 million households sleep better at night with ADT monitored home security. What's more, Protect Your Home is offering you their latest equipment, an $850 value, absolutely free for qualified customers. Protect your loved ones and home today. Call now for licenses and to find out more. The call is free, 1-800-949-8201. That's 1-800-949-8201. Again, 1-800-949-8201. $99 installation charge, 36-month monitoring agreement at $36.99 per month. Payment by credit card or electronic bank account charge. For new homeowner customers with satisfactory credit history only. Local permit fees may be required. Certain restrictions apply. Cannot be combined with any other offer.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. As I mentioned just about a half hour ago, CNN reported that the U.S. has filed criminal charges, against Ahmed Katala, and it's under seal. He is with Ansar al-Sharia in Libya, one of the militia groups believed to have been at the front of the attack on the embassy in Benghazi almost a year ago. Joining us now is our friend Stephen Emerson. He is the executive director of the Investigative Project on Terrorism. Hey, Steve, how are you? Hello, Steve. Do we have Steve? Steve. Yo, Steve-O. No. All right. All right, we're going to try calling him back. And anyway, so that's the latest, and you know, I would hate for, or let me put it this way: I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. The media will say, "See, they're trying. Obama said we'd get him," and like our former guest, the ambassador, who obviously, you know, I don't know, he expects me to believe that our government isn't run the way the reports say it's being run, with regard to keeping everything that happened in Benghazi a secret and blaming the video and hiding people and changing their names and making sure they don't speak to Congress or reporters. Our government doesn't work that way? Really? Anyway, that was kind of laughable. But I know what's going to happen. The media and the administration, because they're really one and the same, are going to walk around and say, I told you we'd go after and find the person responsible. They have known that Ansar al-Sharia has been responsible from day one. Let's and Al-Qaeda. Let's go to Steve Emerson now. Hey, Steve, how are you?
I am sorry about that.
That's all right.
Technology.
Yeah. Okay. I know. Please, it was without it we couldn't live, but sometimes we have to put up with it. Okay. So Ahmed Katala. The U.S. government, according to CNN, has an arrest warrant out for him. It's under seal, or it's an indictment or whatever, for his role and his group's role, Ansar al-Sharia, in the attack on the embassy in Benghazi. who is this guy? And, CNN interviewed him last week. I mean, everybody's known this guy's had involvement, correct?
Yeah, apparently. I'm trying to open up my files on him right now. Apparently there has been a Interpol secret arrest warrant for the last 4 months. Then the United States itself, Justice Department, issued an arrest warrant within the last 6 weeks that was sealed. The question is, where is he now? And the other question is, how many others were indicted? Because I've been told that at least 3 others were indicted as well.
Okay, yeah, all right. So all part of that group, Ansar al-Sharia?
Ansar al-Sharia, right. Although, just for the record, they deny it in their Facebook posting. But I attribute that as much credit to the credit I give to Pee Wee Herman.
Well, depends what Pee Wee Herman's talking about. But that aside, okay. So here's what I'm afraid of, and here's what I started saying right before we got to you, Steve, is that now the administration, and if this has become public, they're going to go around saying, "See, president's on the case. He never stopped. We're hunting these people down. We're going to get these people." When in fact,
well, first of all, what month is it now? August?
Yeah, it's almost a year. Yeah,
a year. Okay. Number 2, an arrest warrant. First of all, this guy was held in Tunisia, one of the recipients of hundreds of millions of dollars, and we were never allowed access to him. Number 3, he had been hanging out in Libya for at least a month and a half in Benghazi after the attack. Again, we were not allowed or didn't pursue him. And number 4, what about all the answers to the questions about what happened that night? I mean, what was the ambassador doing? Why wasn't he protected? What were the other agents on the ground, 35 of them, doing? Why weren't they protected? Why wasn't there a mission sent from Tripoli or from an aircraft carrier? None of those questions have been answered.
Oh, I am with you, and that's why I say my fear is that the media. We just had on a guest who poo-pooed all that, Ambassador Daniel Benjamin, who worked for the State Department as coordinator for counterterrorism, and he said, "Oh, I think the media is in a frenzy. All these questions have been answered by the government report that answered the questions." And
did you ask him when he left government, Daniel Benjamin? I think he left government after the Benghazi affair. If that's the case, he's partly responsible. So what would you expect him to do?
Well, no. What I was going to say was I begged to differ with him, obviously. Yeah, but my point is I'm just afraid that this is all going to, they're going to use this as a reason to not even address any of those other things. All right, let's now here's something else. Here's something else, and this is interesting, and this takes us to Egypt. John McCain is in Egypt. And Lindsey Graham, of course, wherever John McCain is, Lindsey Graham is, and vice versa. And they're standing there, and McCain calls the ousting of Morsi by the military, he called it a coup. And
he called it a coup?
He called it a coup today, which flies in the face of the administration. And wait, I'm not finished. So at the State Department, spokeswoman Jen Psaki, with a P at the beginning, I don't know if it's silent or not, told Matt Lee of the Associated Press after he asked her about what McCain said. She said that the U.S., get this, quote, has determined that we do not need to make a determination, end quote, over whether or not the ousting of Morsi in Egypt was a coup. So they don't care what anybody calls it because they decided they don't have to decide.
No, I have to tell you the truth here. I mean, there are certain, things that have been turned on their head. One, the fact that Saudi Arabia and UAE sent up to $12 million to stabilize Sisi after he overthrew the Muslim Brotherhood is a great testimony to the fact that the Saudis recognize the danger of the Muslim Brotherhood greater than we do.
Absolutely.
Number 2, McCain has been pushing for the Muslim Brotherhood in God knows how long. He went to the Muslim Brotherhood when Morsi was running and proclaimed him to be a moderate, somebody we can deal with, even though Morsi was a guy who was tweeting and writing posts on his blog that Israel was the devil incarnate and the United States was a Zionist part of the alliance, should be destroyed. I mean, I think that McCain has got a couple of screws loose, to tell you the truth. And number 3, I give the administration credit. Earlier this week, John Kerry, the Secretary of State, said that the rise of Sisi was an evolution toward democracy. And that really was an evolution toward democracy. So for the first time, I want to give the administration credit.
Yeah, yeah, you have to. But of course, they have indicated that the Muslim Brotherhood has to be involved in any future elections. Muslim Brotherhood this, Muslim Brotherhood that. But getting back to McCain, I mean, he was one of the ones. I mean, he went to the floor of the Senate when Bachmann and the 4 others wrote that letter questioning Huma Abedin, and he just, how dare you? That's not who we are. We're America. We don't question people's connections. How dare you? I love Huma. We know Huma. I mean, what is wrong with him?
You don't have enough time for me to go into that, okay? There's a screw loose, and more than a screw loose. I mean, if there's anything up in his head, he has come out on the wrong side of history on so many things. I mean, I remember a year and a half ago, and Andy McCarthy wrote a beautiful repost to his entreaties to the Muslim Brotherhood. He went there with Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham at least repudiated part of what he said, but McCain stuck to his endorsement of Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood as moderate, as pro-Western, as people we could deal with. All three, I think, he struck out on.
All right, one more. We're talking to Steve Emerson, the executive director of the Investigative Project on Terrorism here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Let me ask you about this threat. We have now revealed, either by accident or on purpose, when I say we, I mean our government, leaked it or whatever, that we've intercepted the head of Al-Qaeda's phone call, and that's how we found out about this pending attack, imminent attack. Do you believe that there's a threat equally as big or greater here on the homeland, and they're just not telling us? Or they think that it's overseas and in the homeland, and they're just not telling us? Because do you believe that this threat is going to involve chemical gas? Or because when I heard Peter King say that he is scared, that he's never seen a threat like that, it really shook me up and got me to thinking. But again, we're telling them how we got their information, which we're insane.
Which is ridiculous, number one. Number two, we're allowing them to dictate our behavior. Suppose this is just a dry run. Suppose they're issuing this fake chatter just to see the way we react. They're perfectly situated now for the next time to determine where our vulnerabilities are.
Right.
I don't think it behooves a great nation to cut and run like this, okay? We should be standing up and basically not allowing ourselves to surrender and wave the white flag. Now, I don't disagree with the Congressman Pete King, who's no friend of the administration, when he says that the raw intelligence showed him that there was a threat. The only question is what our behavior is and how specific the threat was. I don't think it got the specificity of saying exactly where it would be located. Initially, they said 19 U.S. embassies or the Middle East. Now they're sort of extending it, but I don't think that extension really is predicated on the intelligence that they receive.
Yeah. All right. Listen, Steve, I do appreciate it very much, and I thank you, as always, for staying on top of all this. We'll speak to you soon.
You got it.
Take care. Steve Emerson, ladies and gentlemen, Executive Director of the Investigative Project on Terrorism here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And this is something we could kick around if anyone cares to weigh in on it. I mean, did we overreact? I mean, I asked this question to the ambassador, but I asked it to Steve Emerson. I've asked it to myself, and it's being asked. Did we overreact? Did we show our cards? Could this be a dry run? Could this be a test on the part of the terrorists? Could the head of Al-Qaeda have gone on the telephone on purpose to say, let me give them something they think they're getting when they're really getting nothing? And now they see what we've done. They see how we've reacted. They see how we've ratcheted up our security, what we've closed, etc. Plus, they've given us a time frame. So when we get beyond that time frame and we relax and go back to quote unquote normal, guess what? They're catching us in a relaxed state after a heightened sense of security. So I don't know. Do you trust this administration to keep us safe, to do the right thing? Remember, Al-Qaeda was on the run. Al-Qaeda has been decimated. Its leadership is gone. They can't hurt us anymore. And now we closed 1921 embassies because we heard a phone call and the chatter and the threats and the plans. And we don't know where the attack's going to be. We don't know what the attack's going to be. But we're running and hiding, which might be a good strategy. But now they've seen how we've reacted. I mean, I'm not in the intelligence industry, and I could understand how this might have been a bluff. Why would our government go tell the world that we have this information, we heard this chatter, we know what's going to happen, blah, 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 and maybe nothing, hopefully nothing's going to happen, but maybe it was a bluff. And we look like morons to these people. And they're sitting there smiling and laughing, watching us scatter around and sitting in wait. It doesn't give me an enhanced sense of security. I don't feel, wow, our government's on top of it. I'm sorry. I just don't. This is the government that defends the Muslim Brotherhood. This is the government that says our only threat is this little group, what's left of Al-Qaeda. And Al-Qaeda is basically decimated. You believe that? I got a bridge to sell you about 40 blocks from here. All right, 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660 on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is rich in nutrients but not in calories. Choose fatty fish like mackerel, herring, sardines, and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Judging from everything you hear, you think all cholesterol is bad, but that's not really true. You need a certain amount of cholesterol to maintain good health. The problem is that too much cholesterol in your blood contributes to a plaque, a fatty substance that narrows the coronary arteries that feed blood flow to your heart. Picture your coronary arteries as a 4-lane highway. If one lane becomes blocked, traffic still flows well. 2 lanes, no major problem. But if a 3rd lane becomes blocked, that spells trouble. It's the same way with your coronary arteries. and when plaque slows their blood flow to your heart, this can even cause a heart attack. The good news is that when it comes to cholesterol, lifestyle changes can pay off big time. Even a small reduction in plaque can be like opening up another highway lane. Suddenly, blood flow that was stalled can go forward again. Changing your lifestyle does not have to be hard. And in fact, here are 3 ways to help you start lowering your cholesterol. Snack on nuts. Nuts are probably one of the easiest and tastiest ways to lower cholesterol. Walnuts and almonds are among the best. Bulk up your diet with fiber. Choose whole fruits instead of a fruit juice, brown rice instead of white, and if you're eating a baked potato, be sure to leave the skin on. Choose fish. Fish contains cholesterol-fighting omega-3 fatty acids. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, you want to hear bizarre? I'll give you bizarre. And I'm not talking about, where you go to buy things. I'm talking about bizarro, real crazy stuff. You remember not too long ago, this ABC News editor, Don Ennis, he strolled into the newsroom in May of this year wearing a little black dress and an auburn wig and announced that he was transgender and splitting from his wife and that Don wanted to be called Dawn. That's right, like the dishwashing liquid. He would undoubtedly, that's why he chose the name. He wanted to be called Dawn. Yes, indeed, because he was a woman trapped in a man's body, as we know happens oh so often. He says, now, though, after suffering a 2-day bout of amnesia, follow me here, he now realizes he wants to go back to living as Don, not Dawn any longer. So you take that auburn wig and whoosh, fling it. You take that dress off and hopefully you got some pajama bottoms under there or something. Here's the deal. He said, I accused my wife of playing some kind of cruel joke, dressing me up in a wig and a bra and making fake IDs with the name Dawn on it. Seriously. He wrote this in an email to friends and colleagues last Friday explaining his shock after he woke up from what he called a quote-unquote transient global amnesia last month. It became obvious that this was not the case once I took off the bra and discovered 2 reasons I was wearing one, he said, referring to his hormone-induced breasts. So this guy went through hormone therapy. He put on the wig. He put on the dress, and he put the needle in his arms or had the needles put into his arms or wherever they put it for hormone therapy, and he grew breasts. He said, I thought it was 1999. Now, I'm not sure why he said that, unless maybe he and Prince were partying like it was 1999. He says, and I was sure as hell that I was a man, he said in the email. And the email was titled, Not Reportable, Very Confirmed. I don't even know what that means. Maybe it's going like whoosh, right over my head. Maybe it is. Fortunately, my memories of the last 14 years have since returned. But what did not return was my identity as Dawn, said Ennis, who had been wearing lipstick, skirts, and heels. I'm writing to let you know I'm changing my name to Don Ennis. This will be my name again, now and forever. And it appears I'm not transgender after all. I'm tearing up. I've retained the much different mindset that I had in 1999. I don't know, he keeps going back to 1999. I am now totally, completely, unabashedly male in my mind, despite my physical attributes. I'm asking all of you who accepted me as a transgender to now understand I was misdiagnosed. I wish I was making this up, but I couldn't. I'm not capable of making this up. I am already using the men's room and dressing accordingly. Now, how he gets rid of the breasts, if he gets rid of the breasts, way above my pay grade, as Barack Obama once said when asked when he believes life begins. So let me take you to this story. Okay? You'll see the segue here in just a second. A French nurse has placed an advertisement to rent out her breasts for parents who cannot breastfeed their babies. The woman is offering her services for, I don't know, this is in British pounds or something. It says, whatever. The young mother, who is in good health, quote unquote, has put out the advertisement targeting gay couples. The 29-year-old has caused a stir in France, following the proposal as the European nation is divided over the gay marriage bill, which was passed earlier this year amid protests. Contact me through the site. Don't bother if you're not serious, she says. It's unclear, it says here, if renting out breast milk is legal under French law, as experts are divided on the opinion. It has also potentially raised questions over infection from the woman to children. In 2011, a similar incident when breast milk was attempted to be sourced through Facebook, Professor Jean-Charles Picard, president of the French Association of Human Milk Banks, and Professor Pierre-Henri Giraud, president of the French Society of released a joint statement saying these risks are mainly infectious because the milk can be contaminated by bacteria or viruses. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I just did was I took two stories, kind of related, sort of related, and dovetailed them one after the other. That's called a segue in broadcasting. I hope you enjoyed the segment. I hope you enjoyed the segue. And if you have an answer as to what happens to a male who undergoes hormone therapy and grows breasts when he goes back to being a man, because like Ellen's old lover, Anne Hayes, she decided she wasn't lesbian anymore. He decided he's not transgender anymore. What happens to his breasts? I could say with certainty, though, I feel, he cannot rent out milk from those breasts because they ain't got none. On the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
You've heard the allegations on the news, and during the big game, pro football players have been using deer antler velvet to get a competitive edge. Banned at the London Games for its performance-enhancing qualities. Forbidden in major sports leagues for being an unfair advantage to athletes. Deer antler velvet is now in stock and available to try for free for a limited time only. Athletes have been using it for years for increased strength, increased endurance, muscle mass stress reduction, and yes, greatly enhanced libido. Everyone's talking about this miracle substance so powerful, it's being banned by professional sports organizations, but for a limited time, it's being made available to the general public. Best of all, you can try it for free by calling 800-678-5153. That's right, get Superior Velvet for free. If you're looking to boost your performance on the field and between the sheets, get the most powerful, proven product used by athletes for years now for free. Claim your free bottle today by calling 800-678-5153. That's 800-678-5153. Again, 800-678-5153.
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the two main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time radio offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659-REVIVE.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. The trial of Major Nadal Hassan began today, 4 years after the horrific shootings at the Fort Hood Army base that killed 13 people and wounded more than 30. Staff Sergeant Alonzo Lunsford was left blind in his left eye and now suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder after the shooting. He and other victims may now face cross-examination by the man charged in the rampage, Major Malik Nadal Hassan. He has chosen to represent himself during the trial. Lunsford was recently asked what it would take for him to feel like justice was served in this case.
In a perfect world, an eye for an eye. Let it be judged by Islamic law, what death would be by stoning.
The prosecution plans to call some 300 witnesses, some survivors among them. If Major Hassan is convicted, he could face the death penalty. And the State Department has ordered the evacuation of all non-essential personnel from the U.S. Embassy in Yemen. The move comes after officials say they intercepted secret communications between al-Qaeda's chief Ayman al-Zawahiri and his deputy in Yemen. This is what was initially led to the shutdown of almost 24 U.S. embassies and consulates in the Muslim world. Lawmakers say the potential terror attack was a massive plot in the final stages. Some of the posts that were closed, including Iraq and Afghanistan, did reopen yesterday. And 3 people were killed and others were injured when a man opened fire at a municipal meeting in Pennsylvania before he was shot by local officials. It happened last night around 7:30 in Monroe County, about 85 miles north of Philadelphia. Witnesses say the man first shot through a wall and then entered the meeting room and then kept firing. State police say the suspect, 59-year-old Rockney Newell, had an ongoing dispute with township officials, but it remains unclear if any of the victims were specifically targeted when the shooter opened fire.
One of them is in an official capacity with the township, so you would assume that he did know them, but I don't know that as to be a fact.
A local official, as we told you, was able to take the gunman down with his own gun. The suspect was then treated at a local hospital and released to police. And Alex Rodriguez hit a single for the Yankees last night in his return to the majors after learning his suspension handed down by Major League Baseball. MLB suspended Rodriguez through the end of the 2014 season in connection with the biogenesis scandal, though he will be allowed to keep playing as he launches an appeal. Rodriguez was one of 13 players disciplined yesterday. And when your Newsmax Now update continues, big changes for one of the nation's most iconic newspapers, why some veterans of journalism say the sale of the Washington Post to Amazon.com founder Jeff Bezos might save the paper, plus a Newsmax exclusive with the frontrunner in what some are calling the most intriguing Senate race of 2014. Congressman Jack Kingston of Georgia joins us next.
What is Lignet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is Lignet? Lignet is confidential. Lignet is sensitive. Lignet is security. What is Lignet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on Lignet.com. You've been briefed.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-625-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-625-MyTV. 1-855-625-MyTV. Cancel the cable, cut costs, and get more. 1-855-625-MyTV. 1-855-625-MyTV.
And welcome back. A major shakeup in the newspaper industry. Amazon.com founder Jeff Bezos has bought the Washington Post for $250 million. The deal includes other papers owned by the Post as well. And during a Newsmax exclusive, we talked with Congressman Jack Kingston about a Senate race some are calling the most intriguing in the country. Republicans are hoping to take over control of the Senate, and this is one race they absolutely must win. Some pollsters, though, say changing demographics may provide a boost to Democrats, even in Georgia. But Kingston says his track record of winning in a Democratic district should help him win this race if he wins a highly competitive GOP primary.
Well, I actually come from a Democratic part of the state. I have proven that you can be a solid conservative and still attract swing voters.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for August 6th. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, hour number 3 of the Steve Malzberg Show. It's going to be a really big hour. We're going to have George Vesey, sports columnist for the New York Times, author of 6 best-selling books, and he will be here. He wrote a piece on A-Rod in the New York Times today, which I think you're going to want to hear about, basically talking about A-Rod's upbringing, lack of a father figure, etc. A-Rod's a character, that's for sure. Is it attributable to his upbringing? Well, that makes us all kind of who we are, but can you blame the steroid use on his upbringing? We'll talk about that. Also, New York Senator and former U.S. Army intelligence officer and federal prosecutor Lee Zeldin will talk about the travesty, the mockery of a trial going on in Fort Hood at the trial of the jihadist. Also, Dr. Chauncey Crandall, one of the nation's leading cardiologists, will be here to talk about the procedure performed on George W. Bush, former President George W. Bush, having a stent put into an artery after a physical yesterday discovered that he had an artery that was very much blocked. And we'll talk about how that is discovered and what the stent means. And, you know, he was in great shape. He is in great shape. He exercises, he rides bikes, he jogs, he's thin, yet there was a blocked artery. So what does that mean for all of us? We'll talk about that. But first, I want you to listen to Oprah. No, don't turn off this show and go find Oprah. But I want you to listen to something Oprah said just the other day. Give a listen. She's talking about Trayvon Martin and all that stuff. Here's cut 1.
It's so easy during this time, Trayvon Martin parallel to Emmett Till. Let me just tell you. In my mind, same thing. But you can get stuck in that and not allow yourself to move forward and to see how far we've come.
Okay. I mean, Jesse Jackson. When Jesse Jackson, this is how I hear it and I interpret it. When Jesse Jackson says, Trayvon Martin, Emmett Till, Jesse Jackson to me has an agenda. Jesse Jackson to me has an interest, in my opinion, in revving up, ratcheting up the racial tensions and all that kind of stuff. And I have said there's no way Jesse Jackson could actually believe that Emmett Till and Trayvon Martin should even be mentioned in the same breath. But for Oprah to say parallel, same thing, Emmett Till, Trayvon Martin, is she sick? Is she out of her mind? If Scott Newman is listening, he's freaking out right now. Is she really out of her mind? Emmett Till and Trayvon Martin are the same thing? Here you have a case of a kid, a young man, whatever you want to call him, who was involved in something that escalated, that should never have happened. It was a misunderstanding, perhaps. We have evidence that Trayvon Martin was on top of a man, beating him. We have evidence of an eyewitness seeing it. We have evidence of the wounds to the victim. In this case, when I say victim, I mean being beaten, George Zimmerman. Okay? And Zimmerman fired in self-defense. Okay. How could any self-defense case be parallel? Be the same thing as Emmett Till? If I have my facts straight in my head, a 14-year-old boy who dared to say something to a white woman in a grocery store. When the husband found out, he and his racist brother went to the Emmett Till's home in the middle of the night, took the kid out of bed, murdered him in a gruesome, horrific manner, twisted barbed wire around his neck, and threw him to the bottom of the lake or the pond or whatever the heck it was, weighting the body down. That's the same thing as what happened to Trayvon Martin? You either have to be, in my opinion, there's a few options, and I'll give them. An idiot, a liar, a racist. I don't know, is there another option? An idiot, a liar, a racist, or I don't even know what else. To equate the two, why would you want to? The horrendousness, the significance to the civil rights struggle, the significance to what that meant at the time, to what the times were like back then in certain areas, what Emmett Till represents, and to say Trayvon Martin's the same thing? How? Because George Zimmerman looked at him and saw a possible thief, a possible robber, a possible troublemaker? Because in that neighborhood there had been robberies? Because this guy, according to Zimmerman, what he said to the 311 operator, he looks strange, he's not going anywhere, it's pouring rain, he's walking slowly, he's looking in windows. That's the same as going to some kid's house and tearing him out of bed because he spoke to a white woman and murdering him and throwing his body in the river? That's the same thing, according to Oprah? So which one is she? I don't even remember my choices, A, B, or C, because you can't be normal. You can't be honest and normal and believe that. You can't. It's just inconceivable. And then there's Melissa Harris Perry. Melissa Harris Perry. We know all about her. Here she is. Well, first of all, one of the things she said, you ready for this? One of the things she said on last Saturday, on her show on MSNBC, after a discussion of the sentencing of rapist and kidnapper Ariel Castro, Melissa Harris Perry, who has said our children don't belong to us, our children don't belong to the parents, they belong to the community, who is called the replica of something representing a fetus, this thing, who said that she's sorry her sons were, I'm paraphrasing, sorry her sons were born because we live in such a racist society and it's so dangerous to be black and a man in America. Crazy, sick, in my opinion, things. Well, add this one, okay? They're talking about Ariel Castro. And she made a comparison between the house that Castro built to hold his sexual assault victims, and she compared that to institutions like colleges and the military. In my opinion, sick. Listen to this. And she said, from the Castro case to a discussion of the problem of sexual assault in the military, She said the twisted house that Ariel Castro built was designed to protect himself and keep his victims silent and hidden. And in some American institutions that were designed to promote intellectual and political freedoms, we find instead that this same culture of institutional self-preservation at the expense of survivors of sexual violence on college and university campuses, where victims' concerns go unaddressed and perpetrators go unpunished. So colleges and universities are like the house that Castro built, where he kidnapped 3 young girls and held them as sex slaves. In her mind. That's how much she despises America, in my opinion. And in the U.S. military, she said, where an epidemic of sexual assault is met with an unwillingness to protect soldiers who have been victimized and a reluctance to prosecute their cases outside the chain of command. Folks, what could I say? I'll say 3 words. I won't say them. You get the point. You get the message. We're coming back, and we're going to be joined by George Vesey and mercifully change the subject to A-Rod on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If your prostate is giving you problems and your doc says it's just part of getting older, be wary. Renowned physician and author Dr. David Brownstein thinks this is baloney. He's discovered a link between aging and prostate health and believes prostate concerns do not have to be an inevitable part of aging. That's why he created Prostate Revive.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Brownstein. I personally formulated Prostate Revive to include the most essential natural ingredients available to help promote a healthy prostate gland and optimal urinary function.
The producers of Dr. Brownstein's Prostate Revive are so thrilled with the positive feedback from satisfied customers that for a limited time, they are willing to send you your first month's supply free. Plus, call now and you'll also receive Dr. Brownstein's special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. For details on getting your free bottle, call 1-800-596-REVIVE. That's 1-800-596-REVIVE. Take control with Prostate Revive. Call now while supplies last to claim your risk-free bottle at 1-800-596-REVIVE.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really? Yeah.
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-908-1254, 800-908-1254.
Here's today's silver shortage update from Lear Capital.
Reports keep coming, the shortage is growing. Twice already this year, the U.S. Mint has run out. Last time this happened, the silver price jumped 40%. It's time to take advantage with this special offer from Lear Capital.
For a limited time, buy 20 new silver polar bear coins and get one free. The only 1.5 ounce coin on the market. It's minted with the finest silver, carries a government guarantee, and is eligible for IRAs. The silver polar bear is available exclusively from Lear Capital. But don't wait. Silver supplies are shrinking and availability is not guaranteed. This offer is limited to a minimum purchase of $5,000. Call right now. 800-634-0482. 800-634-0482. Call Lear Capital now. 800-634-0482.
I love you, son. So it hurts when you say I hate you. I'm your mother. I'm tired of you disrespecting me when you don't get your way. I work hard to make sure you have everything you need. I should be able to ask you to get out of bed in the morning without a fight. So from now on, things are going to be different. I ordered the Total Transformation Program. We're not going to scream and fight anymore. I'm going to tell you what to do in a different way, and you're going to do it. You're not going to call me ugly names anymore, and if you do, you're going to get consequences that'll keep you from calling me ugly names. We're not going to do things your way anymore, son. We're going to do things the Total Transformation way.
Get the Total Transformation free. Just order the program, tell us how it works for you, and you can keep it for free. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520. Call now. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520.
Sure, Steve might be a bit of a hypochondriac, but he never gets sick of breaking news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. Call Steve at 1-855-777-9660. That's 1-855-777-9660. Here's Steve.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you what
I haven't gotten any indication of the timing of anything. I'm so focused on tonight, and you know, it's been a long time for me. And the last time I was on the field, it wasn't pretty. It was against Detroit in the playoffs and against Baltimore, and I was horrific. I've had 2 hip surgeries. I've had 2 knee surgeries. I'm fighting for my life. I have to defend myself. If I don't defend myself, no one else will. I'm not saying that anyone is making anything up. I'm not saying anything about MLB or anything that's going on. I am saying that we have a process. This is America. You have an opportunity to defend yourself, and I think the process, like all of us Americans, will have an opportunity to defend ourselves in a due process. And I think that's what we have today, and I'll have my day.
All right, folks, I'm sorry I stepped on A-Rod, but I was so excited to get to my next guest. It's been a long time since I had the pleasure of welcoming in George Vesey, sports columnist for the New York Times, author of 6 national best-selling books, including Stan Musial and American Life and so many others. George, how are you, sir?
I am well. We go back a ways to Arthur George Rust and all the above.
The late Arthur George Rust Jr., yeah, and the Big Ball Orchard in the South Bronx, and George Vesey was a frequent guest during my sports days back at WABC, but it's a pleasure to talk to you. Great piece today in the New York Times on A-Rod, and George, you know, I know you're not making excuses. You're actually basically saying relating what A-Rod has said over the years about the fact that his father left him and the family when A-Rod was 9, and he's really never gotten over that.
I think that's true. I just want to make it clear, and I think I did in my column, that A-Rod doesn't start every conversation. I mean, you just played a long monologue by him. He sounds like he should be living in the Moscow airport. You know, he's way out there. He doesn't say, you know, he doesn't start off every conversation by saying the trouble is.
No.
Kindly, Officer Krupke, you got to understand. He talks about his father at times, or
right.
has in the past.
No, I just wanted to point out that you weren't saying that that's the reason he's in the trouble he's in. Yeah.
Right. Neither of us are.
Right.
But since I've been around him, my daughter covered him when she was a columnist in Seattle. I know a little bit about him. I was just trying to give readers another sense of it. Not that it's anything new. He's talked about it before.
Right.
But he did. His father did leave him, and my conclusion is that it has left him without some kind of voice that says, Alex, you know, don't do that. That's stupid. You better cut it out, blah, blah, blah. Of course, as people have pointed out on the New York Times website and other places, there are people who grow up without a parent or two, including the President of the United States, who is one of the more centered people I know, and, you know, lost 2 father figures early in his life. So people do go on.
Right, they do go on. We'll leave the President of the United States out of this conversation right now. But one of the people you talk about who does have that influence and does have that, that fatherly figure and the parental guidance to this day probably is Derek Jeter.
Well, absolutely. It's a contrast, and you almost hate to make the contrast between somebody who did and does have an active father and one who doesn't. Derek happens to come from a terrific family. Father who's a drug counselor and active guy, mother who's an accountant, and a sister. And I point out in the column that Jeter gives every impression that all 3 of his people in his family have let him know at times, Derek, don't be a jerk. I mean, those are my words, but the point being that he knows when people would be unhappy with him, would be disillusioned with him, and as far as I can see, he has never really crossed that line into jerkdom. And Alex doesn't have that trip switch.
No, and again, here's a man who signed a $250 million contract, who is on the, just about ready possibly to lose $31 million or so of that money, and who knows what legal action the Yankees might try to take after that, whether they'd be successful or not, we don't know. But first of all, let me ask you about the treatment and what he said yesterday. Yesterday he had an opportunity again. He was asked point blank at least twice at that press conference before the game in Chicago, have you used PEDs? If not, why don't you just say you haven't, right now? And he wouldn't do it.
Yeah, as he said, he can't talk about the specifics, lawyers, orders, and all of that. He probably can't say it one way or the other legally, but I noticed that Michael Weiner, who is one of the great straight shooters, just a terrific guy.
The head of the Players Association, right?
Players Association, that Weiner had a comment about that these are legalities, collective bargaining. He's not saying that Alex didn't do it either. So if nobody's saying he didn't do it, I think we have to take the cues from what we're not hearing. If it were a total mistake, I mean, I've heard enough of Lance Armstrong and other people saying, gee, I never did a thing, it wasn't me, it was the other guy, blah, 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 that even if Alex did say, I never took anything, I believe that Major League Baseball has a whole trunkload of stuff from biogenesis and Dr. Galea and going back to his own admission that he took it. He's a recidivist.
Absolutely. George, we only have a couple of minutes, so let me ask you to get some predictions here. Do you think that that suspension by an arbitrator will be watered down, at least maybe cut in half or in some way altered?
I think it's possible. I think it's possible that a good lawyer and an arbiter, in the best sense of the word, who is neutral, would say this seems excessive to me. And for all I know, baseball has said let's throw the book at him and see how far we go. I mean, I'm not saying that I know anything that they did, but it's conceivable they say this is what we want to do. But what is their actual calculation of games based upon? The arbiter could say that and say, sounds a little harsh to me, let's cut the difference and go on from there.
Right.
That's just me talking.
No, absolutely. I mean, you have Braun, who did test positive, or got off on a technicality and got only 60 games, so I see that. Dallas Green told me yesterday that baseball will never forgive Alex, and baseball history will never forgive Alex. He'll never get in the Hall of Fame. You agree with all that?
I think it's true. I think that Rodriguez is so unpleasant a persona in the way he operates in all of his history that he's already admitted if he winds up being suspended for any part of the arbiter upholds any part of it, he's got a serious mark against him and everything he's ever done. I mean, we saw what a wonderful, but it's like Bonds and Clemens. Both of those were Hall of Fame players almost immediately upon coming into the major leagues. It's going to take a long time for people to forget what they did.
Absolutely.
And they've never been suspended for anything.
Yeah. George, really a pleasure. I hope you let us call on you again, sir. Thank you.
Anytime, you know where to reach me.
Okay.
We go back. Always nice to hear from you.
Thank you. George Vesey, the great George Vesey of the New York Times, ladies and gentlemen. Great to hear his voice and great to get his insights on A-Rod. When we come back, the trial at Fort Hood on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
My patients still don't know what ObamaCare means for them. And how could they? There are already 13,000 pages of regulations, and the bureaucrats are just getting started. ObamaCare will change your health care, and you need to understand how. There are hidden taxes and fines, big cuts in Medicare, even new regulations on what services doctors can offer you. Some businesses could get hit with a 40% additional tax on your health care plan. Please, get the ObamaCare Survival Guide today. It's the best book explaining the new law. It's easy to read, everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The ObamaCare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere.
Special internet-only offer right now at ObamaCare911.com.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today. In this free offer, we are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th birthday commemorative edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax magazine every month.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show. No. This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, we are back, and the Army psychiatrist who, of course, perpetrated one of the worst mass shootings in U.S. history, says that he planned to kill as many soldiers as he could, according to a military prosecutor, in the opening day of Nidal Hassan's trial at the Fort Hood base in Texas. Joining us now to talk about that is a man who we've discussed this with before, but now the trial's underway, and we're talking with New York State Senator Lee Zeldin, former U.S. Army intelligence officer and federal prosecutor. Hello, Senator.
Hey, Steve. How are you?
Good. I just flipped the cap off my pen for the world to see as I said hello to you. Anyway, yeah, it's underway, and, you know, as a layman and as a concerned citizen and a proud American, I see this, and I spoke with one of the victims on this show yesterday, and he was shot 6 times, and he is testifying tomorrow, and there's the possibility, of course, that he will be one of those victims who is cross-examined by Nidal Hassan, who's representing himself as his own attorney, and he'll have the opportunity to cross-examine these victims. To me, the whole thing has turned into a circus.
Yeah, it sure has. Fortunately, Hassan is not cross-examining all of the witnesses. He's cross-examining some, and the best thing that you can hope for, you know, my wife tells me that it seems like the challenges in life, you know, God just seems to know how much strength you have and how much you can handle. For any of the victims taking the stand, if Major Hassan was not to cross-examine all of them, hopefully some of those who don't have the strength are going to be spared. It's very heart-wrenching and unfortunate that some of these victims might be facing the person that shot them, and it's just it's sad. Heart goes out to them.
Now, why? I think you and I have been through this in the past. Why are we having this trial when he has wanted to plead guilty? And as a matter of fact, in his opening statement to the jury today, he said that the evidence will clearly show that I am the shooter. He said the evidence presented during the trial will show only one side. He then wanted to talk about how he shot his fellow troops to protect the Taliban fighters in Afghanistan, but the judge would not let him do that. So here we have a guy who said, I did it. The evidence will show I did it. Here's why I did it. Why on earth are we spending these millions of dollars on this trial and putting these victims through this?
Well, unfortunately, the rules don't allow an accused to plead guilty for charges that carry a capital punishment with it. And because the death penalty is an option in this particular case, Hassan can't plead guilty. He can come before the court, say I'm guilty, and of course he can be convicted and sentenced as such, but he can't actually enter a guilty plea because of the fact that it's a capital case.
Well, I mean that's a great explanation. It's too bad that that's the case, but we have to be put through this. Now, Hassan called himself a mujahideen who switched sides. Let me ask you this: the reason that I've heard for the administration or whoever it is that has to classify this or reclassify this as a terrorist attack from the current classification as a place of workplace violence, the reason it hasn't been done is because they don't want to prejudice the case. I've never heard anything so ridiculous in all my life. Here's a guy in the President of the United States who weighs in on the Trayvon Martin case both before any jury trial and then after. The Attorney General says he's concerned about the jury verdict in the Trayvon Martin case and threatens to bring more charges. You have the President weighing in on the police confrontation with Professor Gates in Massachusetts, says the police acted stupidly. This is before anything was adjudicated or determined. And also the President's come under criticism for making comments about sexual assaults in the military, saying that it's been harder to try defendants because they could use the President's statements as being prejudicial in the case. So my point is it legitimate to say that nothing can be changed here until after this case is over? Would it have harmed this defendant, in your view, if this had been classified as a terrorist attack instead of a case of workplace violence?
So, from the beginning, if we knew then everything that we know now coming out of the gate, classifying it differently, might be wholly appropriate. At this point, as we're going into a trial, especially as we go day by day, and Major Hassan continues to, use certain words and that obviously identify this as terrorist activity. I would hope, just for the sake of bringing full justice to Major Hassan as well as all the victims and their families, I just want to make sure that this case doesn't get derailed and turn into a circus. And one of the things that I experienced as a prosecutor in the military justice system is that there is a heightened sensitivity towards having the record reflect anything that can be a cause for a case to get overturned or for anything to happen by the prosecutor or the government outside of the courtroom that is just seem to indicate that there isn't a fair and impartial trial being conducted of Major Hassan. So just to we got to dot every I, cross everything to make sure that if this case was to get appealed, that appeal does not obviously doesn't result in the case being overturned, but also doesn't lead to an appeal that lasts almost in perpetuity, where we can't bring the capital punishment to Major Hassan. So, we just have to finish this case very delicately, cautiously, making sure that we secure the conviction, secure the death sentence. If I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be convicted, and making sure that the record is protected if the case was to be appealed, so that we can actually see him executed.
All right, so once this is all over and done with, then the classification could be changed. But I mean, I knew from day one, according to eyewitnesses, that he shouted Allah Akbar. I mean, that would, and then we very quickly found out that he was in touch with the Muslim cleric Anwar al-Awlaki, and his influence and the interviews and his statements, and it all became very apparent that this was jihad, and to classify it, of course, as a terrorist, as a case of workplace violence, as you well know, is a very big financial hardship and injustice for the victims and their families.
Yeah, it's obviously classifying it as workplace violence on the other end of the spectrum of classifications. Seems to be a silly characterization. But and the fact of the matter, when you know who Major Hassan is, who he was speaking to, what he was saying, all of the facts lead to that this is not a normal person. This is someone who has denounced his U.S. citizenship, who has tried to give up his oath as a United States officer. And I'd be one of the first ones in line to say, if he doesn't want to be a U.S. citizen, then it's a wonderful right to be a U.S. citizen. If you don't want that right, listen, we're better off without you.
Right. And you think, Lee, that if he found guilty according to plan, that he will eventually be put to death?
I sure hope so. But you know what? If you look at all of the capital cases that have gone on in the military over the course of the last few decades, it just never gets to that point.
Well, that's what I was going to say. From what I know of the track record, when you know much more, it doesn't seem too encouraging.
No, it certainly doesn't. And there's a track record where cases are overturned, and other cases where these appeals just they last forever until Major Hassan takes his final breath in a prison. And and that's why it's very important in case it is appealed. That anything going on inside that courtroom, that nothing indicates that Major Hassan wasn't given absolutely every opportunity to defend himself. Fortunately, he seems to be our best witness, because every time he opens up his mouth, he's confessing to all the wrong that he did.
All right, Senator, I appreciate your time, sir.
Yeah, great talking to you.
Thank you. We'll talk to you again. Thank you. That's New York State Senator Lee Zeldin, former U.S. Army intelligence officer and federal prosecutor, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Yeah, they don't seem to execute people anymore in that category, and in fact, it's very rare that anybody who's supposed to be executed is executed in the criminal justice system as well. But the military, I don't understand why they don't, but they don't. If he's found guilty, then let's hope that Major Nidal Hassan is put to death, as is warranted, certainly in this case, beyond any doubt. He is a jihadist, in my opinion. He is a terrorist, in my opinion, and he deserves, at the very least, the death penalty. Okay, I don't even know what that means, but okay. When we come back, we're going to speak to one of the nation's foremost cardiologists and find out all about what exactly happened to George W. Bush. Why did he need a stent put in to open an artery? What is that all about? How did they find it? When we come back, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you're a baby boomer or senior, please listen closely to this important message. Politicians in Washington are quietly plotting to decrease your Social Security payments drastically, and they want to do it soon. In fact, despite rising prices at the gas pump, grocery store, and doctor's office, retirees have received a mere 1.3% annual increase to their Social Security checks. Meanwhile, food stamp recipients have seen their payouts increase over 30% under the Obama administration. That's shocking. So when we stumbled upon a weird trick that could add up to $1,000 to your monthly Social Security checks, we knew we had to share it with you. To get started, simply go to SocialSecurityFree.com. Yes, it's true. You can take simple steps that could add up to $1,000 to your monthly Social Security payouts. Newsmax says SocialSecurityFree.com is a critical resource for anyone over 50. Go to SocialSecurityFree.com.
Drug, alcohol, and gambling addiction can be devastating for you and your loved ones. Don't let the disease of addiction ruin everything you've worked so hard for. The Treatment Helpline has helped thousands of people just like you take control of their addictions and live healthier, cleaner, and happier lives. You are not alone. Now there's hope. The Treatment Helpline has helped people just like you overcome their addiction. If you or a loved one is suffering from a drug, alcohol, or gambling addiction, let us help you today. Call 1-800-813-9821. Our seasoned addiction treatment professionals can show you how to use your private health insurance to help cover the costs of this life-changing program. Call now and get a free confidential consultation. 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821. Help is only a phone call away. Call 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821.
Are you at least 62 years old like me? Could you use an extra $50,000, $100,000 or more to live a better life? Then please consider the benefits a reverse mortgage can provide to you. With a reverse mortgage, you can have your mortgage payments stopped altogether and get equity out of your home to live on. And you can use the money to help you live a better life. How nice would that be, not to have a mortgage payment? Qualifying for a reverse mortgage is simple, since there are no income, asset, employment, or credit requirements. However, you must be 62 years or older, own your home outright, or have a very low balance on the mortgage, and be prepared to live in it throughout the rest of the loan. Call now for more information.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
This is a referral service. Calls will be routed to an independent referral insurance agency. Do you know the number one cause of bankruptcy? No, it's not losing your job or running up credit card debt. It's not even divorce. It's medical costs. If you and your family don't have health insurance, just one serious illness or accident could be financially devastating. But now there's good news, really good news. A health insurance hotline has been established to provide health insurance for all Americans, even uninsured Americans with pre-existing conditions. Now anyone can get health insurance even if you have a pre-existing medical condition. I repeat, now anyone can get health insurance coverage. Call now for a free no-obligation quote on affordable health plans available to you. Again, this is a free hotline for anyone, even if you have pre-existing conditions. Protect you and your family from sudden unexpected medical costs. Call the free health insurance hotline right now at 1-800-910-3470. That's 1-800-910-3470. Call 1-800-910-3470.
Health insurance is on everybody's mind right now. You either don't have it, or you have it and you think it's too expensive. And you probably feel like you don't have any options. We can help. We are InSphere Insurance Solutions. We offer health insurance plans from major carriers nationwide and likely have a plan that can save you money. Whether you're self-employed, on a COBRA plan that's about to expire, or you simply don't have health insurance where you work and you need it, InSphere Insurance Solutions can help you. Our agents will help you find coverage you can afford. InSphere Insurance Solutions is an authorized agency in all 50 states, including the District of Columbia. Plans may not be available in all states. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream is streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. We were informed this morning that former President George W. Bush underwent a procedure this morning to have a stent placed in an artery after a blockage was discovered in his annual physical exam. According to his office, this was conducted at Texas Health Presbyterian Hospital, and the blockage was discovered yesterday. And on the recommendation of his doctors, he agreed to go ahead with the procedure, which was successful. Joining us now is a man you're familiar with because if you're familiar with this show, you hear him and see him if you're watching at newsmax.com. You also are familiar with his affiliation with Newsmax and his heart health report, Dr. Crandall's heart health report. I'm holding it up right here. Chauncey Crandall, one of the nation's leading cardiologists and medical director of interventional cardiology at Good Samaritan Medical Center down in Palm Beach County, Florida. Hey, doctor, how are you?
Steve, how are you doing?
Good. Pleasure to talk to you. Okay, so let me ask you, and I'm a little educated in these matters as a devout hypochondriac. The way the story is reported and how we have to assume it happened was the president went in for a physical, and they did probably, to discover a blocked artery in a physical, they must have done a nuclear stress test to find that out, correct?
Well, Steve, he had a stress test. I don't know why he had it. You know, it could be part of a regular physical, or he could have had symptoms that they accelerated this. But he had a stress test. He's in good shape. He walked on the treadmill. They did another test with it called the nuclear cardiology portion of the stress test. And this test showed a significant defect in one of the main arteries of the heart. There are 3 arteries, but one of them clearly showed a blockage, and it probably was in one of the main branches of the heart, and that's what led to the treatment with a coronary stent.
We don't know it. We don't know which artery. Was it the Widowmaker, so-called, or we don't know?
Well, I don't think it was. It probably was the Widowmaker. That's a significant blood vessel. It shows a large defect on the scan. And with his visibility and everything, I'm sure it made people nervous, and that's why they took him immediately for treatment. But I suspect he was probably, Steve, having symptoms prior to the stress test, and those symptoms were concerning enough that they put him through the stress test, and they made the diagnosis that he has heart disease.
Right, and we're hearing it was part of his physical. I mean, I have no reason to doubt that, but we don't know that for sure. He might have, in fact, been brought there with symptoms, and we don't know that. Now, explain, if you will, the stent. That's like a balloon that's inserted into an artery, or is that separate from the stent?
The stent, the stent is made of wire, and it's like the old chicken wire. It's similar to that, but on a much smaller scales. It has little cells in there, and that stent is placed in the artery on top of a very tiny balloon, and the stent is crimped down on the balloon, and when they get to the site where the blockage is, they inflate the balloon with the stent on the outside, and that stent is deployed and opened up and causes a bridge, so to speak, within the artery that causes better blood flow, and the obstruction is pushed out of the way outside the stent. So the artery will look brand new. The people that did this are excellent. So the results, I'm sure, are very good, and his outcome is going to be excellent.
Now, we have here in George W. Bush a man who, for his age or for any age, is very active. Jogs, rides mountain bikes, up mountain trails, is very physically fit looking as far as weight goes, but yet he had this problem. So I think it should send a message to all of us that no matter how much we work out or no matter how healthy we think we are, I guess we don't know.
Well, Steve, the main thing is we see this type of disease in many people that are in excellent shape. Usually these people eat poorly, and often many of them are under great stress. President Bush was tremendous stress as president, and stress is one of the main driving forces of heart disease. Even though you physically look good like this president, You're under tremendous stress, and stress inside the heart causes damage. It causes elevation of blood sugar, and it causes inflammatory factors and cholesterol and all sorts of inflammatory mediators. So stress is a killer. And I would tell your audience, anyone that's an executive, anyone that's a president of a company, anyone that makes these decisions day in and day out of great importance has stress. And they are people that can have heart disease. We have people on the other extreme, the people that are poor and down and out, that are going through the stresses of their type of lifestyle. So stress is a powerful predictor of heart disease.
And we're talking to Chauncey Crandall, Dr. Chauncey Crandall, Medical Director of Interventional Cardiology at Good Samaritan Medical Center in Palm Beach County, Florida, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. So I mean, we've seen your commercials here on the show and heard them, and
Right.
And read your written essays and information. And I guess aside from lowering stress in your life, which is easier said than done, it does still. You need to eat healthy. You need to eat, like you said in your spots all the time. Eat nuts and fish and stuff that's beneficial to your heart and not harmful.
Well, you don't need to get weird and crazy over diets, Steve, but if you've lived a bad lifestyle. So it's very important for the audience to, get their stress test, have their checkups with a reputable physician that's an advocate for their health care. And if they find something, we can reverse it. The good news for the president is that he probably has disease in other segments of arteries of his heart. And by going on a very aggressive program of, cholesterol reduction, stress reduction, and improvement in other areas, we can reverse heart disease. So the news is heart disease can be reversed, but find someone that can help you do that.
Yeah, and I guess men after a certain age should take that stress test, a nuclear stress test?
Well, American society is built on stress, Steve, and wherever we look, there's chaos. Chaos on TV, chaos in the paper, chaos at work. Everything is revved up. So I would really make a strong recommendation that starting in their mid-40s, everyone should get a stress test. Of course, we should get blood work looking at our cholesterol and sugar before the age of, 45. But for all men and women as well, I would make a strong argument for that too, because they're in the workforce, they have additional stress in their life. Should get a stress test and make sure, Steve, by all means, get a yearly physical. We take our car in, we get the oil changed,
right.
But we don't get our yearly physical. And, doctors can help you, and they can reverse heart disease and do great things.
Right. Doctor, thank you so much. Pleasure talking to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
Take care. Dr.
Bye.
Chauncey
Bye-bye.
Crandall, ladies and gentlemen, one of the nation's leading cardiologists here on the Steve Malzberg Show. We certainly appreciate his time, and we certainly wish former President George W. Bush all the best. I have not gone online yet to check out the viciousness of the left to see how vicious they were this time. They were very vicious with Tony Snow. May he rest in peace. They were very vicious with Dick Cheney. We'll see if that applied to George Bush. I'll let you know tomorrow when we reconvene on the Steve Malzberg Show.